I'm starting off fresh, and I feel good. I look good. I smells good. I am good. Happy Friday, my friend.
Here's a message of importance to millions of people who are continually pale and washed out, weak and run down. Doctors will tell you that these conditions are often caused by a deficiency of iron. The iron you need to keep you physically fit and mentally alert. Medical studies show that 2 out of 3 women and many, many men lack the daily iron your body requires in a form your body can easily use and put to work. Every dose gives you more than your daily minimum iron requirement.
We are awake, we are awake, we are not alone. We are striving for more.
So if you're not getting the iron your body needs, feel weak, run down, and are easily upset, start taking iron today.
It's never too early to learn that the government is a greedy piglet that suckles on a taxpayer's teat until they have sore, chapped nipples.
Sore, chapped nipples. Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome to Have No Sphere, right here on the ironrealmmedia YouTube channel. And I'll tell you what, it's a Friday. Ooh, here's a fun fact. This is the first Have No Sphere back on the main channel in 3 months. Well, 3 months and a week. Because we didn't do a live show last Friday. They were too busy with the trivia for charity. So we didn't want to go live and disrupt any of that. So this is the official first Have No Sphere. Back after we got our ban from the main channel and had to start going live on the backup channel. If you're not familiar, head on over to the Iron Realm Media podcast channel.
Yeah, there's some hidden nuggets over there.
There really are.
Like for the longest time, that was the only place you could find the interview with Jerry Marzinski. It was on our backup channel until we migrated it over to the main channel. So yeah, there's some hidden nuggets. Go digging.
Did we really have it over there? I guess we did. Didn't we premiered it?
We got hit right before he came. We had him planned. It was weeks of planning and getting lined up because he was a major get. And when by the time he came that week, it was backup channel. We would never have done that to somebody intentionally.
I guess that's right. I guess we never did move it over and migrate it for a while. Hi, Walter.
Sting, I got muted. Hi, sorry, I'm all pumped up for the show. Yeah, right before we got him in here for the second time with his guests that he brought along, we had a replay. I believe we premiered it. I just threw it up there. I'm not sure about that part. Seems like we premiered it, though.
Seems like we
would
on
the main channel so everybody could catch up and get them up to speed on what Jerry was all about. But anyway, yeah, go dig on the main podcast or the backup channel, the podcast channel. It's got some good stuff.
Go dig
In fact, I think for the longest time, our first attempt, that was the only place you could find it. And now it's been migrated.
I think
one of the first attempts. Who knows? Anyway, I'll shut up. I'm here. I've had a great week. I've done my own hellos and intro. I didn't mean to jump the gun, but yeah, I'm excited about our backup channel. Like I said, sometimes we have to have things there. They don't work out like we want, but go digging. Some of our recent shows over there have been some ringers, bangers, or whatever the word is. Anyway, I'm here. I'm good. Cats are happy. They're all healthy. They're out there. The kittens are on solid food. Are getting there. They've had a couple days with having a bowl accessible to them after they kept getting run out of the main bowls. So everything's good here. Excited about tonight for sure.
Should definitely go digging into some Jerry Marzinski as well. You know, once you watch him on our channel, go find his and his channel. I forget what the hell it's called. I'm gonna,
yeah.
I don't know. It'll come to me. Walter will find it before I do, but he's always putting out new stuff. Even relatively recently, if I remember correctly. But man, what an interesting topic.
As recent as yesterday.
Oh, see,
he's on fire right now. Engineering mental sanity.
There you go.
Jerry Marzinski.
It's like, I was going to say something else, and it lost because you said engineering mental sanity, something to that effect.
I messed up your mental sanity.
Right.
Here it is. I'll drop it in the chat for everybody to go check out Jerry. I'll even drop it in this call in case our guests would like to go check out Jerry Edling. All right, that's enough of me. I'm going to shush.
All right. Well, then let's head down to South Carolina.
Oh, I didn't have my camera on.
You son of a
Hey,
bitch.
everybody.
I'm not quite sure why I'm so blurry, Liz. I'm running about 14 different camera things, so that could be part of it. I'll get it sorted. I promise. Here, I'll even do this. We'll just make it easy here.
It fits with your...
Oh, that's not what I wanted. Fucking Skype. I just hang up on them. Fuck it. Don't need any of them. Don't need you guys. That wasn't what I wanted to do. All right. All I wanted to do was turn my camera off. They're just so close to each other. There. Now I'm not in soft focus anymore. Like a little thin coating of Vaseline on the camera lens. Like it's 1979. Anyway, we're going to head down to South Carolina.
I thought it went really well with your picture.
I will say that it did blend rather well. We're going to say hello to Mrs. Cami Knodel, who we not had a really good chance to say hello to, and who people on the main channel have not spoken to in 3 months. You might recognize Cami from her little channel here on YouTube, Aisling717. Cami, how are you doing?
Well, my nipples aren't chapped.
Woohoo! I mean, let's run with
I
it.
am searching for. I'm going with our roll-in tonight, and I'm like going over the topics we've covered, and it's like that's interesting on for a lead-in. So I guess I'm happy that they're not sore and chapped. So that's we might be taking the channel down now for another 3 months, but I guess that's a good thing going. Mental clarity, I'm fighting for it. Sanity, working for it hard. Every day is a winding road. Glad to be here tonight. Glad to meet Brendon tonight. First time on the show with him. Looking forward to some good questions and good conversation. And I'm on with Liz. You and Liz are thinking that you're not really blurry, Josh. That you just probably have a
I think that's just how stoned I am. I'm like literally blurry. The camera's perfect.
It's going to be my new word for it. Hey, what's wrong with you? I'm a little blurred right now.
Sorry.
just a little blurry.
Just a
that
little
one's been
blurry.
used before. That'll be coming back. You can't own that one.
So, yeah, that's what I was going to say before Walter threw up my mental sanity. We do a lot of shows. We do 4 shows a week, whether it's this channel or the backup channel, depending on who's going to give us a strike at any given time. But out of those 4 shows a week, we're going to lose at least one of them. At least. Probably as many as 2. Eventually. Whether it's today's YouTube guidelines and community strikes and all the fucking terms of services they've got, or it's the one they're going to give us in the next 4 years down the road when all the shit we're saying now is going to be illegal and the thought police will be putting us on fucking lists and shit. Who knows? But we lose a lot of shows, so if you like one, make sure you're at least keeping up to date on both channels, because there's a lot of good stuff there that may not be there tomorrow or may not be there by the end of this show. So keep that in mind and make sure you're subscribed, hit the bell notifications when we do go live. And Bucket, if you can download it and back it up, please do, because that's almost a full decade's worth of content there. 8 years, 7 years maybe. Between the two channels, there's a lot of stuff. Thousands of hours.
I know I've had some great stuff there that's been taken down. All the blood type stuff all got removed in that. I am testing right now. I'm up here testing the microphone, which they wrote in was scratchy. And it turned out that I was on the default microphone and not the Yeti. I was talking
you do
the
sound
Yeti.
much better. I didn't even realize it. Yeah.
I'm now talking into a microphone that's connected. Thanks for the comments on it, though, because it was just a setting on it. And I was talking right into the microphone that was not selected. So we'll move on from there. Call it a successful test.
Successful test. Well, since we're there, Zack's not far away. We're going to say hello to Mr. Zachary Zabala. He's got a channel here on YouTube. Good Times for All. Figured out how to spell it. Be happy when you find it, because it's worth the search. Zack, how are you doing? I spoke to you this morning, but some people haven't seen you in 3 months. Maybe.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've been over here, hasn't it? Not too shabby. Spring has sprung and all that good stuff. It's just looking at all the different yard work things, checking off boxes.
Some of the people listening and watching, it has sprung. I don't know if it has for Josh, actually.
Spring has sprung here, I'll say. So my favorite time of year. So been busy painting the neighbor's house over the last couple weeks. She's got just a lot of furniture, a lot of old antique furniture that you just don't want to move. You really don't.
Fucking hardwood.
Yeah. But so things have been going good. Maps are coming along. Just working out all the kinks and bugs and getting the gameplay down right. So they should be out here any day now. I was thinking maybe tomorrow we could set something up to where we could all get together and go and do some emotes at all the different flat earth shops and whatnots.
That'd be good.
It will be good, but it might be difficult for certain people in the fact that it is a time of year that a lot of kid interaction takes place.
Yeah.
Like I think we have plans to go to the grandkids tomorrow and do the egg, dye eggs. And I don't know what time of day though, so just let me know.
Oh yeah, it is that time of year, isn't it? Yeah.
I know I forgot literally until it was mentioned this morning after the show. Not even during the show did it hit me what the weekend was. It was, I think Liz said something after the show. And it was like, oh, that's right. It is Good Friday or something. Maybe it wasn't her, but somebody mentioned it.
As good as a Friday could be.
Yeah.
Yeah, enough about me. Let's talk to the guests. It's been a minute.
It hasn't been a minute. I'm trying to think. It's been
long time.
A couple of years at least.
Yes. Oh yeah. Yeah.
And I know I had loaded up. This is what happens. Damn you, Tom Clancy. Damn you. So somewhere
Can't go down.
Got a link to a website, to a news website with an article of you raising some money. Would you do me a favor? Tell me, who were you raising money for with that walk? Before we get too deep into the walk.
It was through what's called the Harmony Home, which is a nonprofit ministry out in New Hampshire, and they deal with a lot of addicts, a lot of women that are abused, children that are abused, men that are just lost mentally and stuff like that. So they're basically a ministry that does outreach multiple times a week, providing clothing, all that stuff. I did like a what would be like a branch off of that, which we called the Harmony Walk. Ended up being the charity that it was called. And obviously, Harmony Home. I did the walk. We just put the two together and just created the Harmony Walk. And you know, for reasons still unknown, kind of just it's more my own conviction and God just telling me what to do and just following my heart. I set off on a journey and walked 360 miles, carrying a cross to raise money the whole way. From, you know, northern Maine, we're pushing Canada, you know, north of Bangor, all the way to close to the Massachusetts border, and ended up raising thousands of dollars. At the time that it was filmed, I mean, the news had gotten hold of it and stuff. I think we were upwards of $3,000 at that time, $4,000, and I'm not sure what the final number was, but you know, right around the corner after I had done that, which the journey, I mean, I would need its own show to tell you everything that happened along the journey, but to give you an idea, I was by myself, and it was through the, you know, the woods, mountains, and everything of Maine, New Hampshire, all the way down to the Mass border, and you know, some really interesting places. I didn't hit a highway or anything like that, because obviously you don't want to be walking down the highway with, you know, a 5-foot cross, you know, carrying it. Get picked up real quick by the stadies, you know. So there was no straight lines in my walk at all. So there was a lot of like, I mean, I hit the ocean, you know, 3 times, and they were a week apart, you know. So like I'd move away from the ocean, then I'd come back down, and I'd be at the ocean again, you know. And kind of Maine, the coast of Maine kind of tucks in. So as I'm going out, coming back in, it just all kept on meeting back. So I mean, it was a very large zigzag pattern that I had to take. And, you know, the journey along the way was, I mean, so much had happened. I met so many people. I had raised so much money. And then when it was done, right around the corner of, you know, as far as time is concerned, was Christmas. And the Harmony Home, which the Harmony Walk raised money for, they rent out this big Catholic church. It's just close to the Harmony Home. It's big, open. It's right in the heart of a city with a lot of needy people. And I had decided to run or fund the Christmas event that they had there, which there's other donations that come in and stuff like that, you know, for hats, gloves, and all this other stuff. So I was really, you know, concerned, you know, really concentrated on what could I use the money for, you know, as far as like people that are, you know, in need. And so we used it to rent out the Catholic church to pay for the actual venue, for lack of a better term, but area where they would be held. So it covered that to allow all the other people to bring the donations in. And what I did was I provided enough tents to basically, I'm talking like camping tents, right? To house upwards of, you know, a couple hundred people, 200, you know, 150, 200 people. And my goal was to at least give some people a shelter, you know, because the winter was right around the corner. Now I'm in New Hampshire, and I don't know if anybody has been to New Hampshire. I'm sure some people watching have, but it's cold up here. We have the coldest day on record in the world, aside from something out of Antarctica, but I think there should be an asterisk next to anything that says Antarctica. So we have the coldest days on record, the highest winds at the top of Mount Washington on record. So the weather here can
like
get
the Siberia of North America, pretty much.
It can be like that. Yeah, it gets pretty bad. But there's also, you know, there's cities, and, you know, there's some really broken cities up here. And there's one called Manchester, and they call it Manchganistan because it's, you know, it's violent. It's got Massachusetts, a lot of people running from the law in Mass and Boston and stuff. They end up in there so the gang violence comes up into Manchester, and there's a ton of drugs, alcohol, meth, and heroin, and then fentanyl, which is just wiping people out. And I believe that the state has or it did at one point when heroin was a thing. It had the highest per capita heroin addiction and death rate in the United States as well. So we're known for breaking good records, bad records, weather records, but nobody really knows about it, so
Remind everybody the state motto.
The state motto is live free or die. And we try to keep that a secret because we're surrounded by a lot of, and I'm not by any means backing conservatism or anything like that, but we have a lot of liberal stuff around us. And so New Hampshire is like the state where everybody embargoes everything to the other states, from cigarettes to fireworks to guns. I mean, in the amount of time that you could order a pizza, you could literally go get a 50 caliber sniper rifle with a suppressor. You're talking 45 minutes. You're walking out the door with one of the most high powered rifles, you can possibly get. People down south, this is what they're used to down there, but we try to keep it a secret up here, because this state, that the property is going through the roof because everybody's trying to move here from the surrounding areas because it's so free, and I think only Florida, and then Texas is below it too, as far as what we are allowed to do, what the king allows us to do, but it is a very free state as far as that stuff. But again, you're paying for a fishing license, all that stuff still exists here, but there is a lot of live free or die stuff that you can go by. But back to Manchester, the city's in shambles, and I decided that, people have died from the cold, and I don't know what the homeless population is, but I do know that, purchasing the tents, in hopes I kept somebody alive throughout the winter. I didn't go to the actual charity. I wanted to keep myself humble. I'm okay talking about it now because, I didn't want to be there for it. I didn't want people to know, who it was coming from. I just wanted them to have that gift and stuff, along with all the other stuff that was donated. I'm talking, you see homeless people lying down the road going into this event, and I'd like to see that I kept some people warm and provided people a safe place to sleep and even, use their drugs. I hate to say it, it's not something, that's obviously debatable and stuff, but a safe place for that is okay in my books, and hopefully I saved a life or two, who knows?
I'm sure you did, man. That's awesome.
That is awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, it is one of those things that can be a bit contentious as far as having a place for people to use their drugs.
Yeah, I mean, people are against it, but then they're like, I'm like, well, where do you go when you drink? And they go to a bar. It's like, that's your safe drinking spot.
Right.
No different to it. I get that there's more disease and stuff involved with drugs. I'm not trying to start the debate. I can already feel people's opinions, on it. But, the ultimate goal at the end of the day was not to provide a bunch of little safe spots for people to use drugs. It was to just save a life, and people tend to use more drugs when they're more cold, so to stay warm. So it's when you find those bodies, just on a train tracks or frozen to death, so in many ways it could have saved a life. I'll never know. I don't really need to know. I just know where my heart was when I did it, why I did it, and, the gruesome walk down here. I mean, mind you, October, November in northern Maine is
I can't even imagine, man. Like, it kills me when it gets down to like 30 here. I'm like, oh, I'm going to die. I'm in Louisiana, so I have thin blood. I'm used to like 90 most of the day, And yeah, I don't see how you guys would walk in that. I'd be frozen in place.
Yeah, I mean, I had the right gear. I was carrying about 65 to 75 pounds at certain times, depending on how much food, or like I said, I'm in the backwoods of some of these, towns, and
no place to stop for a while. Yeah.
20 miles, and that may sound easy. Oh, just walk for 10 hours and get 20 miles. Let me strap on 80 pounds to your back,
Totally different story.
100% different story. And then you add the blisters on your feet, you add the weather, you add the bathrooms, you got to find places to go to the bathroom. It was a very challenging journey. I found myself, I slept in some really interesting places. I mean, great vineyards and graveyards and a lot of people's homes. Like they're just like, yeah, this is amazing. They'll give me the donation, and then like say, come sleep in my house, and they would like make dinner for me and stuff. It was just the whole experience from front to back was. I'll carry it with me for the rest of my life.
Isn't it cool when you do something like that is selfless, and you see all these people that just want to help you do it? They want to help you along your journey.
Yeah. I had people come out of the woodwork to contact me, right down to, I believe it was the nephew of. If somebody has, I actually got it, but I get the live chat up on my right here. But if somebody can look up who did the longest, they call it crosswalk. And there was a guy, in my head before I did it, I'm like, I'm going to smash a record. I'll be one of the, you know what I mean? At the beginning, I was like, I'll just keep going. If it's only 100 miles to beat the record. Then I looked up the record, and it was 38,000 miles in every single continent in the United States. This guy, he was author something. And his nephew actually reached out to me, I believe, through some people. And it was just a lot of moments like that had happened, and it was really cool. And then there was also divine things. I got some footage of it actually, but there was divine things that happen that there is no way. The chances are as slim as the Big Bang happened. We're talking to the whatever power. The odds of these things happening, and the timing and the people that I ran into, they were divine appointments, 100%. There's no explanation for them. I can definitely get into, one that just, it doesn't make sense, and it only makes sense for what it was and why it happened. But, who made it happen, it had to have been something divine, So there was a lot of stuff like that went on behind the scenes that a lot of people didn't see. A lot of this was put on Facebook throughout the journey to raise the money and stuff. I was very silent myself, while doing it. I had a gentleman who ran a ministry that was actually promoting and doing everything online for me. And you guys, I'm vocal with my online. I'm vocal with, anything that I believe is truth. I went off the radar, dead silence, no comms. I was communicating with very few people, as far as the internet and stuff is concerned. And I wanted to, yeah.
Is this Arthur Blessed you're talking about?
Blessed. Yeah, Arthur Blessed. I believe it was 37,000 miles he had accomplished.
It's up to 38,102, it says now.
Yeah, he's passed away. I don't believe he's alive.
Okay.
He's dead. He did that in like the 50s or 60s or 40s or something like that. I forget. I had looked all into him. But he's kind of like the godfather of crosswalking. But his nephew had reached out and was a part of it, and a great little community of people who do that and stuff. So,
wow, man, I can't even imagine. That's wild. 38,000 miles.
Yeah, I thought I was gonna. Personally, I was like, oh, I'll get some personal record. This will be cool to tell my grandkids about, and 360 miles is a long, long way.
That's crazy, man.
And I there's no chance. I got no chance at that record.
So what'd your family think about this when you started? When you told them you were going to do it, were they supportive?
Yeah. Yes and no, I guess, depending on who was involved. This actually, because I was in a very, the last couple of years I've been in a season of healing, just recovering from all the truth movement and all the stuff and all the work that I had put in for, 10 years. And, I went off the deep end. I shared a lot of that with you guys, and and then I went silent, and most people didn't believe I was going to do it. That's the funny part. And the one thing I used to hear, be like, you know what? I think I'm going to build a cross, man. I think God's just telling me to go. It's going to do great things. I know it is. You know, I wasn't expecting news channels and all these articles and stuff like that. I wasn't expecting that. I expected to help one person. That was my goal, was to just bring one person closer to God, bring one person closer to Christ. But whatever it was, that was my goal, was to get to that. I ended up happening like 5 minutes into the journey, and I was like, mission accomplished. I was like, now I got like 360 more miles to go. But the one thing I heard most, especially because I was up there for most of the summer, and when I kind of slipped it out, you know, to a couple people, and I would hear back that, you know, oh, wait, oh, you can't do that. No, that's crazy. That's crazy talk. Through the mountain? No way. That's way too far. You know, how are you going to carry this? How are you going to do that? What are you going to do this? The weather, this, that. And I was like, I was more like a God thing, like, hey, go, and I will guide your steps. You know, like in Isaiah, it does say that, you know, this is a paraphrase, but if you're turning left, turning right, you're following God in your heart, and you're in tune with him, he's going to guide you no matter what. He's going to take that left-hand turn, that right-hand turn for you. And when I tell you that is the most true statement I could possibly give you, if you truly have given your life over to what's greater than us and let him guide the way, he will provide the way. And my stomach, I wasn't hungry. You know, obviously carrying food and canned goods and stuff, you know, like survival stuff was, you know, pain, but I had stayed fed. I got two nights in a hotel that were paid for me by people. You know, it was just, I was taken care of the whole way. And the
makes you respect a warm shower so much more when you do something like this too, doesn't it?
Oh my God. Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think. I probably went the first week and a half without an actual hot shower, you know, washed my hands and bird bathing and stuff like that. You know, that was my only means, you know, was gas station restrooms sometimes. And I'm a 2 shower a day type of person. So it took some getting used to, you know.
Oh yeah.
So can I ask maybe some inappropriate questions? Not necessarily
Absolutely.
Inappropriate.
My favorite.
And like, if don't feel compelled to answer at all, just because I'm totally good with fuck off too. So I feel like you're going to hurt my feelings. How much of this walk had to do with PTSD, wartime PTSD? I saw this when I saw that news article. It's the first thing I thought. You're basically in full ruck. I mean, it's one thing to walk on like a 1/4-mile track, right, and walk it as many fucking times as you want. Walking in a field, walk in the plains, go to Kansas and walk 360 miles versus Maine 360 miles in full ruck, carrying a cross.
There's no flat ground. There's no easy route, you know. And then, like we said, the weather and all that stuff. So I had changed up a lot of the way I basically directed my spirituality. And, you know, I went from, you know, an incurable full-on CPTSD, which is a thing. It's called CPTSD. And I went from that to basically giving my life to Christ and saying, okay, I've tried everything else. You know, I can't put down the bottle right now. This is seltzer, by the way, for anybody watching, no alcohol, but I couldn't put down the bottle. I was, you know, I was always trying to self medicate myself. And I said, you know what? I've always believed in Jesus, but I didn't give my life to him. I didn't look into it. You know, the biggest conspiracy. Oh, I know we think it's the earth and all that stuff, but reality is it's him. And, you know, I went from, you know, these nightmares that I mean, full panic attacks, waking up. I mean, just an absolute nightmare of a life, you know, in the whole truth movement and all the stuff that we did in FOFI, the Future of Flat Earth, all that stuff. It didn't help. You know, it broke up my family in ways. It broke up a lot of stuff. And I just said, you know what? Christ, here's my issue. I need you to take this from me because I'm going to die. I'm going to die. I'm not going to survive this. I'm going to die. And this was in those 2 years where you haven't heard from me and stuff. I was in a healing season, and that was the beginning of it. And he took my incurable PTSD that was, a form called CPTSD that was diagnosed by 4 doctors, and he cured it.
What's the C?
Took it away.
The C for the CPTSD. What is that?
It's like a chronic version. I don't know. I don't think it stands for chronic, but it's basically where instead of having one massive traumatic event change your life, it's multiple massive traumatic events. They can be buried deep from childhood, teenager, all that stuff. It can happen in many different ways, but it's more of somebody who basically abused as a child. I'm not using me as an example. I'm just giving an example. Abused as a child, raped as a teenager, stepped on an IED at war, and then comes home and then his wife's cheating on him, and he has a whole family with somebody else. You break down. So you've had these massive events, but multiple of them. And they say it's incurable. They only look for ways to treat it, and I was actually one of the first people to actually say that it's actually more of an injury to the brain. It's not just a mental disorder or something with your chemicals. It's a physical injury to the brain, because I could actually feel it. And I used to say that to one of the psychologists, doctor people that I would see. This is back. I'm doctor free now. I'm med free. I am free from all of the system that basically creates these messes in the first place.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm sure that's helped out dramatically, just getting out of that system alone.
Yes, sir. Yep. I used to bring the knowledge to them of what I was feeling, because it's like, I've always had discernment. I've always been able to look into conspiracies, which one's real, which one's not. I always had a knack for doing that. And it was always a blessing and something I was proud of, that I had. But when I'm examining my own brain, I came to the conclusion I'm physically injured. And it was about 6 months later that they had come out from a study and they actually found where the physical injury to the brain is. And it doesn't have to happen from an accident, head trauma, traumatic brain injury, anything like that. There's actual physical damage to the brain. And I was saying that about 6 months before it even got put on mainstream. And it was just because I could feel it, And fast forward, I gave my life to Christ. This is not a snap your fingers type of deal. I just noticed I woke up one day and I was like, oh, whoa. I feel kind of okay right now. I'm like, this isn't gonna keep going, And then I'd have 2 good days in a week, then I'm back to 3 days, and then my anxiety levels were going down and then gone, and then the depression down and then gone, and then the physical injuries of the brain and stuff gone, and it all happened when I started letting Christ do work in my life. And it's because I was going to die. I would not be on this show right now if I chose to take the routes that the doctors were offering me and what, modern science was saying about it. I had to take a route that I was in desperate need of help, and help came in the form of Christ. And couldn't be happier, healthier,
At rock bottom, that point where you actually get there and you're like, all right, fuck.
Yeah,
I've got nothing left. I have done absolutely every fucking thing that I'm exhausted trying to come up with new ways of fucking my life up. I need help. Well, fuck it. I got nothing else. I'm done.
Fine. All right.
I'm fucking done.
Fine, Jesus. You can try.
Yeah.
That's the best way to put it.
And it's such a horrible spot. Just that split second before you allow and release it. It's such a horrible place to be in. But the minute it happens, man, it's fucking amazing. I'm just so excited for you. I'm so happy for you.
Yeah. And if there's anybody out there that is struggling or knows somebody that is struggling, whether it's from addiction, most people that have addiction do have some form of traumatic stress in their life. It may come in the form of depression and anxiety and all that stuff, you know. But if there's anybody out there that's listening or will be listening, contact me directly. You know, I always have, there's plenty of time in the day for me to help somebody else out, you know, especially because I know how dangerous, you know, that type of stuff can lead to, you know. So I'm 100% here. You're not wasting my time. You're not bothering me by any means if anybody reaches out to me and wants to just, you know, get deeper into my story or, you know, get more of the details of how I made it work and stuff. And there is a cure, you know, there is a cure out there. And like I said, it goes a lot deeper than me just saying it here. But I'm more than open to help anybody that needs help.
So what was the feeling when it happened? Was it more of an information download, like you have the power to do this? Or was it more or less like a healing hand touching you?
No, so I wouldn't say healing hand. I would say a like a download, but like a LimeWire download, you know. You know, it starts to slowly happen, you know, and that's just how things work. You know, I didn't get there in a day. I'm not going to get out of there in a day. But, you know, when you get one day of freedom from something like that, you recognize it. That's big enough, you know. And then, you know, so it was more of a download process, I would say. That's an amazing question, by the way. But yeah, that would be more of a download.
Yeah, that's kind of how it was for me too. It didn't all happen right at once. I know right at once it was kind of overwhelming to the point of, I think it was almost out of shame, because I was full-blown atheist at the time.
Yeah.
When I found the creator, it just really, man, I started bawling and I just started apologizing. Like, wow, I was so wrong. I am so sorry. But yeah, that gave me the strength to do just about anything after that.
Yeah. Yeah, we carry like around a lot of shame, a lot of guilt, a lot of baggage, a lot of pressure, you know, especially, you know, people like us. We're you know, I haven't been, but you guys have been out there. You're trying to get the next person to wake up. You're trying to get the next person to, you know, you're trying to save people, whether we like it or not. You guys are going live because you want to do the right thing. You want to help somebody. At least I'd like to believe so. You know, I genuinely think that from the bottom of my heart. And I mean, why else would we be doing this? You know, we're not.
But yeah, it ain't for the money. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's right. So, yeah, you know, it's just amazing, you know, that you guys have been out there the last couple of years. And I was always checking in on the channel and stuff like that when I'd be surfing YouTube and whatnot. But you know, it's a lot of pressure. It is. It's a lot of pressure, and we do it because we care, you know. And I had pretty much given everything I had to this, what people call community or whatever. And, you know, I traveled, you know, to islands in the name of Flat Earth filming stuff. And
dude, you went all over the place.
All over the place, you know. And, you know, I got
and not just like the resort places either. You went to like the favelas.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Like gangland.
Murder capital.
The redheaded dangerous giant, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, that was, you know, I did a lot. I risked my life, I guess you could say. But in ways I didn't have, you know, much to lose. And I mean, mentally, you know what I mean? Like I didn't care, like whatever, you know what I mean? But I
think
did
that
have
attitude helped you a lot though on your way.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Because so many people, you know, when they see fear, they act a different way.
Yeah.
But when they saw you like that, they're like, oh, this guy ain't scared. Okay, cool. We'll just treat him like a normal person, I guess. You know? I'm sure that helped you a lot on your travels.
It did, and I remember a lot of times thinking like, oh, I got to have this bubble around me. You know, you're already committed to it. You can't show that. So I just trained myself. I'm like, listen, God's got this. I'm gonna be fine. You know, and next thing you know, I'm like talking to like MS 13 and M18 gang members in the middle of the jungle, and I'm like, all right, you know, have no fear, you know. But I didn't. I didn't fear them. I had more fear snorkeling in the friggin' Caribbean, you know, with crystal clear ocean waters, thinking some tiger shark was going to come and get me, than I did, you know, with these, you know, in these deadly war zones, basically, you know. Yeah, it was. Yeah, I did it all in the name of truth, though, you know, and I never profited from it. And even back then, I made it big time known. I was never in it for any type of money. I was in it to help people, always to help people. I never helped myself, and I kind of, you know, the cup ran over eventually, and it turned into, you know, a few-year nightmare, you know, that was coupled with what I had been doing, the family, childhood stuff. I mean, it just, everything kind of, you know, collided at once.
Yeah,
and
came to the head.
Yeah. Yep.
Dude, 360 miles. I can't even imagine it. With a 60 to 80 pound ruck on the back.
Oh yeah. When I got down to the last like 20, like no, so this is kind of funny. When I got down to like the last 50 miles, I started shedding stuff in the trash. I'm like, all right, I don't need this anymore. I'm looking at the weather. I'm like, okay, this can go. So I'm like slowly loosening up to where I'm like throwing the bag in a trash barrel, you know, and threw everything out, the tent, everything, just to lighten up so I could make a final push, you know, at the end. And I think the last night that I had slept, I just had a sleeping bag, the bare essentials, and it was a rainy, cold night. I had no tent at that point, you know, and I just found a little spot under some trees, and yeah, it was quite the experience. The graveyards were always quite the thrill. You think like, how, you know, like, be scared to sleep in a graveyard. I was sleeping on top of, like, I mean, I could feel the hard ground from the back, you know, on top of surfaces of caskets and stuff. And it's only because I was trying to avoid, obviously, just, you know, you can't just go camping and light fires and whatever. I wasn't lighting fires in graveyards, everybody knows, but graveyards are a good place to hide, and I wasn't necessarily hiding, just not trying to avoid any, hey, you know, you can't be on this field or over here, you know. And so I had a couple nights in a graveyard, and that was pretty interesting. You'd think it'd be scary, but it wasn't scary. I had angels around me, you know, so. And why would dead people hang out in a graveyard anyways? You know? Yeah.
So much cooler stuff to go see.
Yeah, it's a boring place to hang out. You know?
I don't know. Some are really popular. Folks are dying to get in.
Yeah.
So, did you lose any weight doing this? I mean, I'm sure you had to do a little preparing before you just started walking. Did you go like, no pre-walks or anything like that? Just
no pre-walks.
Well, I bet your feet hated you at the beginning.
They hated me the whole time. They never had a chance to heal. They got bad. I mean, to the point where I was off them for about 3 or 4 days by the time I finished. I mean, there were days where I was walking and I could feel blisters literally exploding underneath my foot. I mean, they get big blisters. And I had purchased a really nice pair of hiking boots. I figured that was the best way to go. It was a boot style, you know, hike, kind of sporty, you know, boot, whatever. And even that, it doesn't help after a while, you know. So
yeah, your feet aren't used to all that. Yeah.
But as far as being in shape, I mean, even amongst all my, you know, whatever was going on, I was always in shape. I came from a D1 hockey and a boxing background, you know, so I carried a lot of that, you know, athletic ability from my, you know, teenage and early 20s and you know, even younger than that. But nothing can really prepare you for that. I didn't really lose a bunch of weight. So you would think that you'd be shredded by the end of it, but you know, I just I was in good shape before it started. Fairly good shape before it started physically, and the calves got a lot stronger, I guess. So.
Yeah, that'd be a test right there to see how in good of shape you are, just to see if you could walk 360 miles straight. Yeah, I bet most people, at least in this country, could not. Most people could not.
No.
Walt's like, nope, I couldn't do it.
No, nope. My arches would break down. I'd be flat-footed by the time it would be over.
Yeah, and you would think that this had all this planning into it. It was up and go. The first 15 miles, I didn't even have the cross, and I was carrying stuff. Those tote bags that you have to get at some supermarkets because you can't use plastic or whatever. They're doing to save the globe. I had those with all my stuff in it, and I found them, and it was legit. Okay, God, let's make this happen. I found a military plus, surplus store. I ditched the military bag that I had, was small, and it didn't, and then I was carrying all this other stuff. I needed a big rock, and, I had found a Lowe's where I had built the cross. I built it right inside the Lowe's. We were using their saws and stuff. I got cool footage of that. And
that's awesome.
Yeah. And then, it just, like I said, from the very beginning, God had provided those steps, and when I actually started walking in a direction, I was just using my brain compass. I knew I was going south. I didn't know if I was going the most right south. I ended up not going the best way south, but that was the point, was to just allow God to bring me in the direction that he wanted to do. And it had to have been the direction that I was meant to go in,
Yeah. That's just amazing, man.
Yeah.
A lot of people wouldn't have taken the first step.
Yeah.
What did it feel like, that first step? Was it like a...
I got footage of it. I forget the name of the town, but word had got out that I was starting it. The Harmony Home Ministries, they got connections all over. I started, this was after the first 15 miles where I had to build the cross and get the rock and all that stuff. I consider that part of the journey. But I started from a military surplus store when I had everything ready to go. And, word I got out to a lot of people up in Maine. And there was a line of traffic, I want to say 13, 14 miles long. And this is up in the middle of nowhere. People just wanted to see the guy with the cross carrying it. And the smile on my face, I'm looking down going, I'm texting, Henry, the one of the facilitators. I'm like, Henry, they all heard about it. They're all beating. There's a line of traffic, and it went for miles and miles. And we're talking in the middle. You don't have traffic up there. You know?
No.
But people had come from everywhere from all that surrounding area to see the beginning of that walk.
That had to be such a inspiration to, I couldn't even imagine seeing something like that.
Yeah, it was rough at first, man. I had it was rainy out, it was from the beginning I was tested with it, but that was a lot of encouragement, was seeing all the people that had drove to see, and then people started making Facebook pages dedicated to the man carrying the cross. Look for him in your town, I had gone up to somebody, I think I was looking for a lighter or something like that. And I didn't have any of my stuff. I had it at my little campsite I had set up. And I went up to somebody, I was, hey man, do you have an extra lighter by any chance? This guy was at by the way, weed stores in Maine. You will not see a gas station for 25, 30, 40 miles. You'll see 19 weed stores though. I don't even smoke, so I'm like, shit, man. I went up to a guy who go, hey, you got a lighter in the parking lot? And, because I think mine died or I forget what it was, but I needed a flame.
Fire.
There's always something you want to have on you. Yeah, fire. He's like, yeah, I got you, man. He's like, you're the guy carrying the cross, aren't you? And I'm like, how do you know that? He's like, well, our town has a Facebook page and everybody's spotting you like Waldo right now. I'm like, really? So it was cool, man. It was cool.
That's really awesome. So I'm trying to think. The last time we got a really good chance to talk to you, there was an issue with some neighbors, as I recall, and a music video being shot.
Oh, was it the they did like a live concert or something like that?
Something like that, yeah. And
Yeah. Yeah, no, that was pretty cool. Yeah.
then the SWAT team ended up coming, and there was like the big. How's your puppy, by the way?
Doing good. He's
Good.
actually living in Vermont right now.
Ooh, that's tough, huh?
Yeah, it's tough. But he's in a good spot, and you know he's doing great. So he's in good hands.
Good deal.
Yep.
But I mean, again, there was a whole ordeal that, again, Brendon Daley in the local papers, and it really is a hell of a story. We don't really need to get too far into it, other than it sort of is the contrast, I think, between where you are versus where you've come. And at that time, you were just in this really dark spot where you just like, fuck, you know, I've not got a whole lot here. Got me and my dog, and that's about it. And motherfuckers, this is where it's gonna be.
Let's just say it would have been a lot worse if I had trusted or if I had followed some of my path that I wanted out. You know, let's just say I wanted to go out in a fight, and you know,
put yourself into a trunk and have somebody throw you at the top window, just land in the parking lot.
Yeah, something like that.
Burst out of the trunk.
That, you know? Fire explosions in the background. You know?
Reap the whirlwind, Sheriff Brady. Reap it.
Yeah, it started off, but you know, that was around the time where that was when I had truly given my life to Christ. It wasn't that exact moment, but it was within the month or two where that did happen. And so that would be at that point, you know, where I had nothing left, you know, to go for. It was just me, giant, you know, townhouse and a dog, you know, and you find out who, you know, that saying of, you know, who your friends are, who your true people are, you know, at those moments. And I did find out who they were, you know, so it was a blessing to find out who was, and a blessing to find out who wasn't. And, you know, but at the end of the day, all you have is yourself, you know, your salvation is your job. That's nobody else's, job. That's your job. Your faith, your works is on you, not on anybody else, you know, and I wouldn't trade my salvation for the most holy person you could possibly point out. I'm responsible for mine. I'm the one that decides whether I earn that or I don't earn that, you know, and if that makes sense, it makes sense in my mind, but, so yeah, that was the point, you know, and it's funny because, you know, there's so many people have come to truth in between that time and that time, you know, and there were so many people that followed me before that. And it's like, you know, like, it's, what have you done for me lately? You know, I didn't come back onto a scene the way I had left it, you know, people only care about you when you're risking your life in some jungle or flying to Florida to go 1-on-3 against, you know, globe heads and stuff like that, you know, on iHeartRadio, to say the least. I mean, this is like a lot of people listening and stuff, and people forget about all that work and stuff, which is fine. I don't care. I'm not looking for, you know, recognition on it, but it did show me that it is a what have you done for me lately type thing. And, you know, I feel safe, ready to get back into getting my voice out there, getting that microphone in front of me again. And, you know, whether, you know,
awesome to hear, man. So awesome to hear.
Yep.
And
Heck yeah, man.
Not only that, but the people in your life noticed the change. The change was so obvious that you're not having to be by yourself in a giant townhouse with just your dog.
No. My wife is back. My kids are back. I got everything back full time. You know, we often look at, you know, turning our guilt and shame and sin and over to, you know, Christ or you know, the higher power, the creator. And we look at it as more of, okay, he's a God of forgiveness. This is what this person does. He forgives us for what we do here. But what people look over is that he's also a God of restoration. He restores us, you know, and I kind of was like that 87 Grand National, beautiful motor, just rusting out, you know what I mean? Just like, somebody get me remodeled, to put some fresh paint on me, get, you know, nice little wax. That's how I felt. And I my whole life has been restored, you know, and it wouldn't have been if I didn't have a place to turn over what I was dealing with on the inside. And when I tell you that, you know, I this is not lightly, you know, I was deemed incurable by 4 doctors, you know, and I'm cured, 100% cured. That's not coming back into my life anytime soon. You know, it doesn't seem like it could even remotely touch the spiritual bubble that I have around me and how my life is on the inside, where it's important to me, you know, and you know, with God, you're invincible. You know, that's all I know. All I know is that he knows what's best. He has the power to cure, you know, and that goes out to all the people that suffer from alcoholism to mental illness to anything. He can cure you. He will cure you. I'm not talking like this is, you know, we got to work on it, see the doctors every day, count your days of sobriety, do it. Like, no, you give it to Christ. Okay. The best way to put it is you focus on the fruits, not the fight. The fight isn't yours. You focus on the fruits. The fight is his. You give him the fight and you focus on the fruits of you know, what you can produce. And if you focus on the fruits and not the fight, you allow somebody to fight that battle for you on a much higher level of that we could ever understand. He will come in and he can cure you.
And I know there's people out there that could be, you know, oh, that's crazy talk, this and that, yada, yada, yada. But I mean, Jerry Marzinski even said, you know, when he would be speaking with schizophrenics and stuff, the voices always told them to stay away from the Bible, not to read the Bible. They didn't want the person to try to get spiritually enlightened at all. They wanted to keep them at a low level. So, yeah, you know, when you get that spiritual uplift and, you know, these demons, these spiritual beings, these evil spiritual beings, they can't touch you anymore. No, it's like you have a kryptonite or a like you said, a spiritual bubble around you. It just stops them from being able to even interact with you anymore.
Yep. Yeah, I always try to like give the best analogies to what I mean, and I guess one would be like, does anybody play Call of Duty? You know, zombies, or remember playing zombies?
Oh yeah.
Remember, you couldn't beat the game. It was impossible to beat it. There was no ending to it.
Mm-hmm.
All you could do is just aim out those windows and shoot.
See how far you can get. Right.
See how far you can get until you're backed into a corner. Next thing you know, you're running and jumping, and then you die. You know. But if you think about it, is we as humans will say, okay, I believe in God, but so what I'm going to do is I'm going to fire. I'm going to keep firing at all the bad stuff. You're firing. You're not letting somebody else fire. You keep on firing. Okay, I'm okay. You're not okay. Eventually, you're not okay. Eventually, too many zombies get in, and next thing you know, you and your team are squad wiped, and that's the end of that, you know? And the way I explain it to people is if you truly want that protection, okay, what is in front of, you know, in, you know, Lord of the Rings movies and all these castles and stuff, what do they have around the castle to stop anything from happening? They have a giant, massive wall, okay, with a door that is basically unbreakable, okay? So instead of fighting outward towards these bad things that happen to you, you know, if you're constantly fighting these battles, stop looking like that and it's more so locking the key and not allowing them inside. You know, instead of opening the windows and saying we got to shoot them all, eventually they're pouring through the windows. You shut the windows, you shut the door, you lock the door, and say you're not allowed inside this temple. You're not allowed inside what I am. This is a holy place right here. You know, is in God's eyes, our bodies are temple, and it's really hard for some people to understand. It takes a lot of soul searching to understand that you are very special, you know, and what you are and what you're carrying. We're just this meat vessel, but inside is a holy temple, and you got to shut the door to your temple, and you got to lock it, you know, and you can't let them in. And they're just outside getting bored, banging at the door. Eventually, you know, their knuckles get a little bit, you know, their knuckles hurt, and they don't want to bang on it, you know, and they're like, all right, let's screw this place. Let's
I'm
go
out of here. Yeah,
I'm out of here.
There's a lot of other meat sacks out there to pick from. Yeah.
Yeah. And remember, a thief won't break into an empty house. You know, a thief's not going around looking for homes that are empty or have no valuables inside of them, you know? So if you're dealing with a lot of stuff in your life, it's because you got a lot of value inside of you. And, you know, the thief being this evil that is in this world, they're going to try and break in and commit robbery on your soul and your spirit and everything that you have inside. And they're going to try and ruin you because there's a battle here on earth. And it's, you know, where are you going to, what side are you going to choose? You know, it's, I think Cat Williams said it best. It's the God side and then the other side. There's nothing else. You're either for or against, you know, and I just locked the temple and allowed me to breathe and heal from the inside. And here I am ready to rock and roll. And I you know, restored, you know.
That is awesome, man.
That is awesome. So let's take a little break. I'm going to play that little 90-second news drop that you sent me. And then we'll just play a song for shits and giggles, because fuck it, why not? We play them in the morning.
On the way out, just want to give a big shout out to Daryl Davis of Flat Earth Farms, huge sponsor of this show and many others. Thank you so much, Daryl, for all you do, my friend. You are hugely appreciated across this plane. So lots of love. I know looks like he hopped in to say hey, and he may be working away. So just wanted to let him hear that.
Another one out there helping the creator help with trauma.
Oh my God, that dude is an angel with wings. I can't even imagine how big they are. And another quick shout out to Rico's mom. Love you, lady.
And a big shout out to Angela's baby Carson. Thanks for taking time out of your garden to come in and sit on some live chats, especially our humble little show. We appreciate you being here. And Angela's Animal Rescue, your cup, your merch looks good. See it there on Facebook. I like about 0.1% of everything that I see, so don't take offensive. I'm not liking stuff, but I see stuff. I see it.
A big shout out to Bender, who I see has been active in the chat as of late.
Dude is plussing it up. Wait, here, I'll get back. Hang on, where is he? I'll have to turn off the background thing, the blur, to make it work. There we go.
We love our kitties. Oh.
And the butt on the keyboard.
So I was taking care of some friends' cats, right, before we hit the break here. And this one cat, always the one that comes up and says hi every day, you know, gets her little treats. I put out her treats for her. She didn't come say hi for 3 days. For the last 3 days, I did not see. I was freaking out. And this is the one cat that never leaves the house. The other two are like, they go out, and then I come back in the afternoon. I'll let one in. One will stay out for 2-3 days at a time sometimes. But this one's always in the house and always there to greet me when I walk in the door. That little bitch had me thinking that she snuck outside or something, and I lost her. Yeah, she would not. I even asked him, I was like, hey, is it okay if I go looking around? Ginger hasn't come out yet. I'm sure she's in the house somewhere. I just want to make sure she's not sick or something like that, you know, laying there, you know, in pain or something. And I looked under beds. I looked behind couches. As soon as they get home, bloop, send me a text. Got a picture of her right there, standing in the kitchen. I was like, oh my goodness.
Surprise, surprise.
Yeah, here I am. Oh, that little stinker, man. Yeah, you can't find a cat if it doesn't want to be found. They can hide really well. Yeah.
You got an orange cat?
Yeah, it was a tabby. Yeah. It was an orange cat.
I heard they're psychos. I heard they come with like black belts in jujitsu.
Oh, man. So Gingy is home and safe. I got a picture to verify it, so I feel better now. That just made my heart I got to take a breath finally. I was like, are they going to come home and find their cat dead somewhere, or she's just not there anymore? And yeah, you know, I mean, I love animals, but I hate being in charge of other people's animals. It's such a responsibility. You know, some people, they're like, oh yeah, it's just an animal. But to me, that's a family member of theirs, you know? Yeah. So, okay. I feel better now. Oof.
Yeah. As a quick update, which I forgot to do this morning, Harris went and had his follow-up appointment. They anesthetized him so they could get a good look at his back molars and get some better, clearer x-rays done so she could get in there and get a good look to see what might be the issue. And it was sort of best case scenario, but it was kind of what we thought might be the case. Was there was still a molar back there and it was loose. So he is now minus a tooth, but he's back home and slowly recovering. He had some dry cookies. It's a little pressed hay cookies. We've been soaking them in a little bit of water to soften it up for him. And today was the first time he'd had dry cookies since his run-in with.
Are you going to get him a gold molar bling for him?
Yep. We're going to do just a full grill for the bunny yawn. That's right. So I'm going to play this. Hopefully the sound hasn't doubled up. I'm not quite sure. Maybe I'll start it. You guys tell me if you're hearing it twice.
A walk that ended with tears and cheers. A walk spanning 360 miles from Bangor, Maine to Bedford, New Hampshire. Merrimack's Brendon Daley started this journey 3.5 weeks ago and finished this morning.
God was just guiding me through, and I finally made it today, and I could not be happier.
A walk where Brendon carried a cross through long days and cold nights.
I had slept in cemeteries, apple orchards.
It's playing on YouTube, but not for us.
So you got to come to my house, and you can set up your tent here, or come inside. They'd make me dinner.
A walk Brendon did on a fractured right foot.
I just kind of, put my mind over the pain and just kept pushing because I knew I had the goal and God was with me the whole time.
A walk that's raised $3,000 and counting for Harmony Home Ministries, a Manchester organization that provides for people who are homeless, addicts, or been abused.
Crazy inspiration. Every time I'm going minute by minute, it's inspiring me so much.
I just had this overwhelming feeling to raise money for the Harmony Home. And I built a cross out of Lowe's, and I just went for it.
A walk that started with the idea during one of the toughest times in Brendon's life.
I've been in bad situations earlier in my life, and I know what it's like to need help. And to be able to give back, I feel at home doing that.
Good stuff. All right, we're going to take a little break. We'll be right back.
We know things are bad. Worse than bad. They're crazy. It's like everything everywhere is going crazy, so we don't go out anymore. We sit in the house, and slowly the world we're living in is getting smaller, and all we say is, please, at least leave us alone in our living room. Well, I'm not going to leave you alone. I want you to get mad.
And show them what the fuck we're made of, and take a stand. Come on, all rise, it's the moment of truth. They turn the world into a battlefield, no hope for the troops. All the psychological damage is broken to youth. Now they got them taking pills just to cope with abuse and pull a profit. Shit is all toxic. People full of fear and governments full of tyrants. Want us all afraid so we can remain silent. All these politicians are the real fucking virus. They want us all divided. Otherwise they plans collapse. We're too strong, so they put us in this massive trap. It's always left versus right and whites versus blacks. Now they trying to do the same with vax and unvax. It's textbook when you trying to conquer. I'ma show you how to do it like these violent monsters. Look, you keep the citizens all fighting each other so they never fight you, and you can watch them all suffer.
Sweet dreams are made of it.
Million trees now.
Minds and disagree.
I said I'm one of the people.
World in 7
They can't
seas.
stop us.
Everybody's looking for something.
It's time we overthrow suppression and make ourselves heard till they finally get the message. And let them know the power of the people is a weapon they don't wanna fuck with unless they down for Armageddon. Can't waste another second, I'ma fight until the evil deceased. Stay online trying to take away your freedom of speech. If you don't fit the narrative or keep the people asleep, you get your platform stripped for deceiving the weak. It's fucked up, and honestly we gotta make a change. The freedoms that we have are all at stake as the currency inflates. They season every dollar in your bank just for questioning the power that's in place. They got us in restraints, but they will never censor me. Best believe I'ma fight till I rest in peace. Yes, indeed, the slave ship isn't for me. I'd rather die on my feet than to live on my knees. So fuck you.
Sweet dreams are made of it.
Million trees now.
Minds and disagree.
I said I'm one of the people.
World in 7 seas.
They can't stop us.
Everybody's looking for something.
Yeah, sorry if the sound wasn't optimal for you guys there. There was really just a break for us. The people that needed to go hit the head. Ooh, I can't believe I got that. Get whatever the things that they needed to get. Usually the music we play is in the mornings where it sounds better on freeworld.fm and not optimized for YouTube, mainly because we're going to get community guideline strike regardless of some sort. Somebody's going to say, hey, that's our music. Why the fuck are you playing that? You can't play that there. And it'll get blocked.
I almost asked you before we went and did music. Was that a good idea? But
I think maybe with Vin J's not like a big, super well-known rapper. I don't think that people are. I'm not really worried about Vin J coming after us. But that was Vin J with Sweet Dreams.
I'm going to channel Bob for a minute talking about that. That was pure crap. That's what people of our generation call like most of the rap music, unless it's like a song I like by the Beastie Boys or something like that.
Georgie
Nettie's
Girl is not.
It's Nettie's Girl. It's Nettie's Girl. It's not. It's not. It is. It's a good. It's their best.
Yeah, I think that's just pretty much a generational thing. I think if all the members of a band are still alive, then they just can't really be that good. So, like Beastie Boys has to have been the last good set of rappers, because I'm pretty sure at least one of them are dead.
Liz has fascinated me because from Nightwish, does anybody in the chat or anybody on the show know Nightwish? Just me and Liz, I guess.
No,
we know Nightwish. Yeah, we know Nightwish.
I've showed him to you before. You ready?
On the show.
Okay, well, there's this story, and too much to go into for the show for people that aren't fans, but it's amusing because she's telling me that Tarja and Marco have teamed up. Now, the thing about Nightwish is operatic rock. Fabulous, and Tarja, she has the most incredible opera voice that they put with it, and it really made the band something special, but it also made it that she was quite the little diva among the hard rockers. And that, in other words, she would have to do costume changes 9 times and have the sips of water and be around the smoke or the drinks because it would affect her opera voice. And these are the guys that hung out drunk, this and that, and just wanted the thing. And the band pretty much separated when, they got really big. And she wanted to do small, inclusive things and make money off of it and do that. And they liked the band every weekend lifestyle in the small places. And when they broke up, they broke up with a thing called End of an Era. And pretty much the way it went is they fired her because they made it almost seem like Marco didn't like her either, or that, that she was just too precious and too much of a diva for it. Now they're saying, this is like 10 years later, and the band was never the same. They were one of mine and Bob's very, very favorite bands 15 years ago.
Yeah, it's like heavy metal with...
We could agree on it.
A whole symphony.
A whole symphony.
Well.
It brought...
They're playing like heavy,
but they
heavy
lost the
music
chaos to it. So Bob of the heavy metal...
Opera singer. Yeah, they were huge over in Europe. Real big over there.
And incredible. I mean, actually an incredible band. We've seen them live multiple times even. And again, they were one of our under the radar favorites that Liz was a fan of, and I love that. But that's wonderful to see that the band was never the same without her. I didn't think. Again, it was the blend of the hot and cold together, and that made it so incredibly hot. That having that blend of characters made it so unique and made it so it brought people. Bob, who is usually very heavy metal, and me, that likes more organization of that. Again, if things don't feel organized or they feel messy, it's like headache music to me. But they brought such clarity to the heavy metal and did such a good job with it. So it's fun to see that Marco, because those were my 2 favorites, is Marco and Tarja. And they do a fabulous, if anybody wants to do that, they do a fabulous, fabulous duet on Phantom of the Opera. That I actually think their duet on it outshines any duet done. And I've seen Phantom of the Opera live on Broadway either 4 or 5 times now with different things. And I've seen the movie, and yet what they did on stage, brought a whole new magic. So heavy metal to it. It's pretty cool.
Very cool. Do you get into any bands anymore, Brendon?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I think it was me and Walt, big Tremonti fans. I think it is, right? Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, my brother. I love me some Tremonti. That is my, dude. Truly, he's an inspiration to me, dude. As you are as well, dude. I mean, the things you've done are just mind-blowing. But, yeah, the energy he's taken from being in the huge band he was in with Creed, and then to improve his guitar playing like he's done it, his songwriting, his voice, I mean, all of it. And, dude, to see those kids' faces light up when he hands that guitar off of his neck to him live in a show, that is just, yeah, that's next level shit.
Yeah, I think we were doing a show back in 2016 or something. I don't know. It was a long time ago.
Probably. I've been into it for quite a while. So
yeah, I was doing sharing my screen, and I was trying to look for something, and like all my music history showed up, and you're like, whoa, did I say Tremonti? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, yeah, I know them. I'm like, you know them? He's like, yeah. I'm like, whoa. Like, nobody knows these guys, They just think of, Creed and all that stuff. But yeah, man, music is a huge part of my life, man.
Did you, by chance, know about, like, the whole novel he put out with Time Machine?
Yep.
Yeah. Did you ever, by chance, get a copy? It was hard to come by.
No, I actually went and saw
them. I lucked out. Oh, Tremonti, you got to see them. I haven't seen them live. I've seen Alter Bridge, but I haven't seen Tremonti yet. I just haven't. The timing was always off when they would come around. I could have seen them.
I had a couple.
No doubt, dude. That's my, like, I will do the backstage guitar lesson, the whole 9 yards when they do come through again. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. The book basically goes with their album, so like each chapter is like part of the song. Really intelligent. I don't think it was one of their best albums. And when I saw them, they didn't play any of their like stuff, you know, because they had just released that album, but they didn't. I think All the Things or whatever was like one of the only songs from all their other albums that they played. Other Things I've Seen or whatever it is. So I went up to Mark after the show and I was like, dude, and I'm like, this song, that song, this song. He's like, yeah. And I'm like, you didn't fucking play him, dude. He's like, oh, you know, I was like, what the fuck, man? I drove like, you know, got a hotel up here and stuff, dude. Like, you know, and now I got to watch Seether, you know, like.
Oh, Lord. Oh, no. Yeah.
So it was pretty cool to meet him and stuff. It was not bad or anything like that, but it was a good experience. I was hoping for, you know, all those songs that were just, you know, certain music plays a part of your life at certain stages that
absolutely.
you go through, you know.
Absolutely.
And Tremonti was, you know, man, I used to they just destroy my speakers, man. I had things cranked through the subwoofers and stuff. And when I went, they didn't play any of this stuff. So it was all right, though. It was a good show. It was good to meet him. It was good to see him play the guitar. It's hard to find a better guitar player, you know, skill-wise. That guy's the best in the world.
Lines, the finger picking he throws into it all. Yeah, dude. I'm working on, like, Blackbird is one I've tried many times. That finger picking pattern is so beyond my technical skill. Yeah, I'm working on it. It is determination. Good. I will get it out this time.
Yeah, I'm still heavy into the Chevelle, Breaking Benjamin, all that stuff, Cold Rain, you know, all this stuff. But
there's some huge festival that's about to go through, and they're all going to be there. Like I saw it with Chevelle, and like that whole era of people are like touring in it. I'll have to go find the festival. Hang on.
Yeah, find it. I want to see if they're coming up here. That would be good. I went to a sold out show at the Garden. Boston Garden about 2 weeks ago. It was Elevation Worship, which is like one of the largest Christian music bands, and that was pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie, I'm into the Christian music now too. You know, it's good to praise and stuff like that and stuff. But you're not gonna take the dog out of me. You know that the heavy metal and stuff. That, you know, the dog's in me.
There's plenty of heavy metal Christian music now.
Oh yeah. Devil Wears Prada.
There's rap. There's all kinds of stuff.
Yep.
We'd go roller skating on Tuesday nights at a local roller rink, and Tuesday night is Christian music night.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Cool.
So, yeah, it's amazing I mean, I'm an old man, so I don't like a lot of the newer music, and, you know, but, dude, I was like, this is Christian? This is a Christian song? This is a Christian song? It's hard to imagine that there's so much of it out there now. But, yeah, it's big market for that stuff.
It is, and you do read a lot, and one of the things you see a lot is like, oh, Christians are abandoning their faith, and it's like, I don't know where that information is coming from, because there is this generation of people being enlightened and waking up in that way, to the point where you're seeing, you know, music that if you change the lyrics, you're listening to like heavy gangster rap.
Yeah,
but it's just the lyrics are just cleverly written in a Christian way. And like, I mean, there's so many genres and stuff coming out from it. And you're right. Like I dove into a lot of that stuff. I mean, it's pretty amazing what they're doing. But from what I'm seeing is that there's a wave of people coming to him. You know, there's waves of people warning, you know, not to get into the eclipse warning stuff right now, because that's not what I do. But there's a lot of people out there trying to get people to say, hey, you got to give up this, you know, secular world. You got to give up this, you know, atheistic lifestyle. And, you know, it's like if I die, or, you know, I'm already dead or whatever, I'm saved and I'm kind of hanging out at the pearly gates or whatever, and you die, you come for judgment, you know, and you're like, whoa, dude, I've known you for 35 years, you know, since we were little kids. Why didn't you tell me there was a ticket? You know, why didn't you explain that to me? You know, it's kind of like if you're on your deathbed from cancer, and the day before you die, I'm like, listen, man, I had the cure the whole time. You know, they would be pissed at you, man. I don't want to have that happen. You know, so that's why I'm trying to get my story out there as much as I can. You know, and what it did for me. You know, because my life was basically, you know, I didn't hide anything. It was always, you know, going live on Facebook. I never was ashamed of what I was down in and what, you know, my ups and my downs, and You know, I one thing hit me pretty hard is, you know, I think it was Billy Zagaris actually that had said this to me. I'm about 98% sure it was Billy. And he's like, where have you been, man? Where's the family? Like, you know, you were like the flat earth family. That's what we looked at you like, the Captain America. And I was like, oh my God, it breaks my heart. You know what I mean? So I'm looking to get back into being at the forefront as much as I can, you know.
That's awesome, man. That's good to hear.
Yeah.
Got that fire lit underneath you again. And I mean, don't feel down. Everybody needs to step away.
Yeah.
Sometimes, you know?
Yep. Yeah, like I said, I don't hide it, you know? I don't hide what had happened, you know? If for me to attract genuine people to me, I have to be genuine about my life. I can pretend like, you know, the last couple of years were great and I was just on some spiritual journey, but that's not how we get to the level that I'm heading towards. It's not by, you know, sunshine and rainbows, you know, and, you know, those are on the other side. You know, you got to walk through hell, you got to walk through the fire so you can show other people how to get through it, you know? And I genuinely believe that that's why I was there, was to bring other people through that similar, you know, whatever. It's always been about that next person, helping that next person with me. So
that's awesome, man.
Yeah, I did bring a little something during the break here. You guys can see.
Oh, nice.
I brought the famous cross here.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. I bet that thing has a lot of energy in it.
Oh man, it's crazy. You know, like we don't worship objects and stuff like that, but this thing, like people that meet me and stuff, like they're like, "Oh, can I see it?" and stuff. I'm like, "Yeah, man. Like grab a marker, sign it, and stuff like that." I mean, if you look, there's things I could spend an hour and a half and only read half the messages, like because you spend time. But I can look at a lot of these, and it's weird. Like everyone's been programmed into my brain. I'm like, I could just find one, like this girl right here, Brooke. She was at a Dunkin' Donuts outside of.
That's so awesome.
What was it? Something Bridgeport, Maine. Bridgeport. I think it was called Bridgeport. It's that city or town that has this like amazing bridge on it. That's where she was from. You know, I can look at these, and if I think long enough, I'm like, oh, that's when that person signed it, because each person meant so much to me. And you know, it's running out of room, but there's still a ton of space on the thing. And yeah, there's a lot. I'm gonna, once it's fully covered, I'm gonna clear coat it and really get it mounted on the wall, bring it to special events that I speak at and stuff. You know, and but yeah, it's special, man. That's the thing. Sometimes I'll just be by myself and I'll just hold it and look at it and just kind of relive the journey. And it's easy to relive it because while I was doing it, it was one of the first times in my life that I was like, I got to live in the now, you know? So it's easy to go back and understand what I was going through and what I was feeling and stuff, because I was truly experiencing, like, I got to live in the now instead of saying that I got to go to this island and I got to do this. And then you're like, so focused on getting there to do it. You're not actually there with yourself doing it, you know? And I made it a point to really be aware of the actual situation I was in. So, because I knew it was going to be a life-changing event. I didn't think it was going to get as big as it did, but it did. And, you know, the rest is history with God, you know? So, it's a special piece that I have. And, I don't know what I want to do with it. You know, I don't know. Just get it mounted on the wall above the fireplace or something one day. So
there you go. That's awesome, man. That's some memories that you're going to have forever right there.
Yeah. Yep.
So it's great news, Zach, about your Ginger cat coming back home and surviving and making it safely through. I've heard there is a Ginger heifer cow that may not be so lucky. They're going to be performing some deep, dark, sacrificial stuff going on somewhere with this upcoming eclipse to bring on Armageddon and the end of days, and the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse is going to come riding throughs, apparently. So I
saw them in '84. They were fucking jamming. I didn't think they were still together.
That's right. But to be off again. For some reason, I've got "Don't Fear the Reaper" in my head. But Blue Oyster Cult is going to be in there for the rest of the fucking night. So I don't really get into a whole lot of this stuff, prophecy especially, but apparently there's a lot of fear porn and a lot of people trying to, well, I would say make this eclipse into something that it's probably not going to be. Can you fill me in a little bit on what people are saying? Because I know I've seen some crazy stuff, but I don't know exactly how crazy or from what sort of sources the stuff is coming from. What are you seeing out there?
You seeing me?
Oh yeah, sorry.
I got this whole thing broken down.
Yeah, I would love to hear it because I've seen just again glimpses of stuff, but haven't delved deeply into it. So I'm real curious as to.
Yeah, we can go step by step, man. And so I basically, my algorithms are picking it up, and I think the more that I'm arguing with people online, the more I'm coming across it and driving myself crazy. Not really arguing, just trying to say it. Just relax. These are, false prophesizing is what it is, prophesying. And the first thing, that, where is it coming from? And these people are getting it from the Bible. And so first off, these people need to be aware, if they're out prophesying the end of the world, you're now a false prophet if it doesn't happen. So you're taking a massive risk if you know that much about the Bible. Just for the start, you're by pumping this out, you're becoming a false prophet in the sense that you're using scripture to say this is going to happen, get ready, this is it. You're now making a statement. You're adding something to the Bible that is like 99.9% probably not going to happen when you actually look at scripture and what they're using as their reasoning through the word. So the false prophet is where this is coming from. And, so one of the points that they make is no one knows the day or the hour. So that famous Bible verse, right? No one knows the day or the hour, but we do know the season. That comes right after it. We do know the season. Okay. Now that's one of the main things that people are throwing in the mix with their reasoning for this happening. Okay. Now the Bible says that they would know the season. So this is a huge mistake they're making. Okay. Audience relevance is what I'm getting at here. Okay. They would know the season. Okay. Paul said, we who are alive and remain, he expected it to be his day. They're speaking of then. They're not speaking of now. This is Old Testament. They're speaking of a covenant that's already been fulfilled. It's done. It's over. We don't have to go there anymore. Okay. So we need to basically stop inserting ourselves in Bible prophecy, and we're making ourselves the main cogs in everything that's in the Bible. And it's like, we're not the main characters here. Okay. So you can't take that, make yourself the main cog and say, this is what they were talking about. When no one knows the day or the hour, but there'll be signs in the season. They're not speaking of right now. That time has already come. So that's one thing. At one point I want to make is it's one of the ones you'll hear in every single prophesying video, is that the sea will know the season, the season's here, and all that. So we can't be putting ourselves, like I said, as the main cogs in all the schemes that are there. And then you can get into false prophecy. What is the Bible? Do you know what the Bible says about false prophecy? You can go math. I'm just going to say the verses in case people have their Bible. I'm not going to actually read them all, but I will read Matthew. It says, and many false prophets shall rise and deceive many. And that's in Matthew 24:11. And then it says in Matthew 24:24, for there shall arise false Christs and false prophets, and shall shew great signs and wonders, insomuch that it were possible they shall deceive the very elect, which would be Christians, the elect. Okay. And then, but it goes on, if you read Matthew 13:9-13, it speaks of, for those who have eyes to see, let them see, and for those who have ears to let them hear. Okay. So basically the reason why these things are spoken about in parables is because, if you read it and you understand the parable, then your heart is in the right place with God. It goes right back to one of the first parables with Simon, who later became Peter, with the fish. He said, what's the net? When you pull up the net and it's full of fish, what is it like? It's got all sorts of fish, colors, size, stuff. And he goes, you will be like a fisherman of, and this is paraphrasing here, but you will be like a fisherman of men. You will catch humans, basically, of all creeds, walks of life, skin color. I mean, you name it. You're going to be gathering all these people, like all the fish that are in your net, and you're going to bring them to Christ. Okay, so those, and at the time, Simon didn't even understand that parable. He's like, I don't know what this means. He realizes that he's in front of Christ, and he gets down on his knees and says, depart from me, forgive me. I'm a sinful man. Get away from me. I don't deserve what you're offering to me right now. So even he didn't even understand the parable. So it's very important to understand that when you do read these parables, you take these things from the Bible, that you understand that they're meant for the listener to understand, and that understanding is equal to an actual relationship with Christ, that if you do get the parable, you're in the right direction, you're in the right spot. So that's a lot. But it goes on to Mark 13:22, Luke 6:26, Acts 13:6, all speak of false prophets. Okay. And there's heavy consequence and repercussions for being a false prophet. And all these people that have, I'm talking 225,000 people following their TikToks, million people following their TikToks. These are, and then the people in the comments, all these Christians, do they have the eyes to see and the ears to hear? They don't, because they're following these people. They're not looking at the word, and they're not breaking it down to what it really says.
So I'm always big on asking questions. Yep. And not making statements.
Exactly. Yep.
Sorry, go ahead, man.
I kind of just did a quick search because I saw one thing go by not long ago, something about a red cow heifer. I don't know what it was.
I got the red heifers. We're going to get to the red heifers. Oh, we're getting to the red heifer. Trust me.
Sorry, I've got a cat right now that keeps turning me off and hanging up the call and muting me. I'm sorry. Anyway,
that is one of the big ones too.
So right, and then I saw another thing go by that the thumbnail was one of those images. Man, what was the movie? Damn it. I can't remember the movie now, but like in the movie, there was this pretty girl and some situation, and when she smiled, her face turned into this demonic grin, and that was the thumbnail for the picture. And it was implying from the title that would be what we'd be seeing during or after the eclipse, and I'm like, oh, Lord, what are we doing now? And that was like probably 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks ago, I saw these videos or whatever. Maybe a week ago, 2 weeks, whatever. Earlier this week, a story came through about this new medical condition that apparently at least one person has that causes him to see people's faces look essentially like that image of that video. They have huge rictus faces with big, stretched, almost scar-like smiles and big, weird eyes and pointed ears and shit. I'm like, okay, what are we doing here now? What are the, anyway, it's just some interesting shit all pumping out at the same time. Now, I haven't dug into any of the biblical side of it because I don't get into the fear mongering. To me, when I looked just a minute ago, it looked like a lot of people trying to pop some video views out of their, exciting thumbnail titles. But we see that just about with every event. There are those people who ride the fear side because they know it's going to get them more clicks. So I don't know. I don't know enough about it, man. So I'm excited to hear your breakdown further. Go ahead.
Yep. One of the other big ones I'm seeing is the prophet Jonah. Okay. Now, allegedly, there's supposed to be like an alignment with the whale, and it's like, the whale spit Jonah back out and stuff like that. So, in Matthew 16, it says, no sign will be given except for the prophet of Jonah. Okay. But what they're saying is that was then. Again, this isn't the prophet Jonah now giving us the sign. The sign was, how long did Jonah preach to Nineveh? Okay, and it was 40 days. Okay, and in those 40 days, Jesus said, judgment is coming to this generation. Okay, he's talking about that generation. He's not talking about now. So Jonah is not giving us any more signs. Again, this is an old thing that has already been done. Okay, so you'll see the Jonah all over this eclipse. Okay, they're plucking it from everywhere. But when they said that, that is coming to this generation, Jesus is saying that it was within that 40 days. Okay, how long is a generation biblically? It was 40 years. 40 years. Not 40 days. 40 years. That's a generation. Okay, so it would have been, from my calculations, the time of 80-30. The judgment comes between 80-30 to 80-70. So that's the 40-year period. That's the sign of the prophet Jonah. So you can take the Jonah thing, throw it out. There's nothing with Jonah that involves this eclipse. Massive misinformation biblically on that one. What was the sign? The sign was resurrection. Okay, and they had that time in that period to repent. Okay, we're not talking now. We're talking about then. Okay, so again, it's just one of those things that has already been done and has happened. Okay, this isn't something that is coming. Okay, all prophecies have been fulfilled. And then I would probably say the biggest one is the sun, the moon, and the stars are marking signs in season. I agree with that. I do agree with that one. Okay, but it's basically trying to say that that the rapture is some sort of blessed hope. Okay, you'll hear that a lot, that the rapture's coming. The rapture's coming. One, can somebody put in the chat or wherever the word rapture in the Bible? It's not mentioned in the Bible. It wasn't even mentioned until like the early 19th century. So we can scrap that. Okay, and your blessed hope isn't being beamed off the earth like Scotty. Okay, that's not your blessed hope. Your blessed hope is in Christ. That's what the Bible is speaking. Paul's blessed hope was the resurrection of the dead and the restoration of Israel, and the Gentiles partake in Israel's blessed hope because of the finished work of Jesus. So it's already been done. So we can take the sun, the moon, and the stars. Okay, now what does the Bible mean about the sun, the moon, and the stars? We think it's the actual sun, the moon, and the stars. Okay. Now let me give you an idea. What's all over flags of all the nations?
Oh, they have some stars, my friend.
Suns, moons, stars. Japan, Honduras,
crescent
America,
moon with the star going through it.
Exactly. Sun, moon, and stars. Okay, they represent power, people. That's what those represent, and that's biblical language. That's what they meant then. So basically, these are coincidental facts, I guess would be a good way to put it. Okay, so one of the coincidental facts, okay, that leads to the sun, the moon, and the stars, right, which you hear all over these TikToks, okay, is that the path is going to make an X. Right? So we remember the 2017, and then we got the 2024 one is going to make an X. X marks the spot, America. Okay.
Over Nineveh, right? Is that what I remember seeing or hearing?
I thought that was.
Oh yeah,
right.
yeah. No, it's gonna. I have it written down here. So the path goes.
I could be wrong. It might be where it starts, man.
It started in Nineveh in, I believe, 2017. I do have that, but so that does look interesting at face value. Oh my God, it's going over all these Salems and Ninevehs and stuff like that. Whoa.
Salem's, right? That was 2017 thing. Salem's, right.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's supposed to go over more Salem. So it's making an X. So we're supposed to say there's like this indicating judgment on America. Where in the Bible is the word America? Where is America mentioned in the Bible? Again, It's like rapture. You cannot find it being talked about in the Bible. There's no word for it. So we can't say that's what it's for. Okay, it's not there. Okay, but some preachers will say it's not in the Bible because we get wiped out before the events of Revelation happen and stuff. They're taking something that's 1,800 years before the birth of America and making it proof of something that's supposed to happen now in America. So we can scrap that. It's 100% misinformation biblically of the eclipse that's coming. Okay. So on the coincidental facts that we're still on. So in the eclipse of 2017 and 2024 are 7 years apart. Oh my God, the perfect number of God. 7 years. We thought 2017 was going to be the start of tribulation and all that stuff. They're not. So if 7's the perfect number of God, which it is, okay, then do the math. It's 6 years, 7 months, and 18 days. That's not 7 years. So it's not a 7-year period between the eclipses. It's a 6 year, 7 month, and 18 days. Okay. And they're even going so far as to say the eclipses are 6 years, 6 days, and 6 hours to the day. Like they're coming up with all these numbers that are just false. Again, false prophesying in these videos. Okay. It's not 7 years. It's 6 years and some change. Okay. The eclipse of 2017 entered over Salem, Oregon. That's what it is. It started in Salem, Oregon, passed over 7 cities named Salem, which Salem was referred to as Jerusalem. Okay. And it was used that in Genesis 14. Was where Jerusalem was referenced as Salem. Okay. Coincidental. Okay. I can prove why that's not coincidental, and I'll get to that in a second. But the eclipse on April 8th will pass over 7 cities named Nineveh and 1 named Jonah. There's the Jonah thing again, right?
There we go. I knew there was some Nineveh related. I knew Jonah. Right.
Yep. So let's go to that. Okay. And I would, if I had to, basically list them all, it would take me, forever. So let's go over the cities. Okay. There's 26 states that have a Salem. So the odds are of it touching one, it's a wide line. Okay. So if it's going to go through your state, for instance, New Hampshire is a very small state. It has a Salem in it. It's just south of the, thing. So for it to go over a city with a biblical name is not oh my God, it's going over a city with a biblical name. Well, guess what's just under the one in New Hampshire? Because we have totality up here. We got one of the best views you can get. There's Bethlehem. There's a Salem. There's all these things, but it's not touching them, so they can't really add it to their mix. But if you look up cities and towns in America that have a biblical name, there is well over 1,000 towns. Okay, just to name.
There's 38 Salems alone, dude. I just looked it up.
38 Salems. Okay, I said what? 26 states, 38, whatever. There's a bunch of
right. That's it. Yep, you got.
Over 1,000 towns and cities are named after something biblical. Salem, Bethel, Bethlehem, Lebanon, Sharon, Goshen, Hebron, Jordan, Zion, Paradise, Eden, Shiloh, Elam, Athens, Canaan, Corinth, Damascus, Egypt, Jericho, Judea, Babylon, Malta, Bethany, Emmaus, Nazareth, Galilee, Jerusalem, Memphis, Rome. It goes on and on and on and on. They don't stop. So yes, it's going to cross over biblically named places. Every eclipse has, especially the ones in the Middle East. So we're talking thousands of towns for it to touch one that's named biblically. Take that, you can throw it out. It's not some coincidence or some biblical prophecy happening. It's just outlandish to think that it wouldn't touch a town that's named Nineveh or Babylon or Bethlehem. Like we have up here. There's a whole bunch. There's a whole area of northern Maine. They have a China, Maine. They have a Korea. I think it's Korea, Maine. There's like South China, Maine. All these Asian countries that have towns. They have Corinth, Maine, which is a biblical thing from Corinthians, the book in the Bible. So the name thing, it's not something we can say is anything to do with biblical prophecy being fulfilled in the year 2024. Let's see. Last days. Last days is a very, very important point. Okay. So the biblical last days are the last days of the old covenant in Israel. Okay. It's very important that we know that. The last days are always brought up in these videos. Last days, last days, last days. Okay. Jesus says his days were like the days of Jonah because the last days represented that 40-year period from the 1830 to 70 where the old covenant, people of the old covenant didn't repent. So we already put that in the bag. But the sun, the moon, and the stars would fulfill would be full from the sky. That's where it comes down to, meaning the ruling powers would be thrown down. The old covenant, they'll be thrown down and destroyed, which it was. Okay, so again, last days in the Bible, the last days of the old covenant is what it means. It's never meant for now. The last days term has got to get thrown away because it's never used for now or for something in the future. It's always used attached to the old covenant. Okay, so they take all these passages, the last days, all that stuff has been prophesied and fulfilled. There's not one where it hasn't. Okay, so they cherry pick those out and they put them in our, selfish way of lifestyle now. It's like we're the main characters of the Bible. It's like, no, it's audience. You got to what was being spoken of at the time. Okay, so the sun, moon, and stars is the old covenant system that lost its place. Basically, speaking of the powers that would be, basically like today, like I said, the flags, we have the sun, the moon, and the stars. So it's pretty easy to see what they mean when they're speaking of the sun and the moon and the stars. If you remember, there's an example perfectly, and it just lays it out in the Bible. Okay, Joseph had a dream where he tells his dad that the sun, the moon, and 11 stars would bow down to me. And you remember what Jacob said about the dream was, am I the sun? Okay, meaning the sun. You, the moon. So am I your mom, the sun, the moon, and your how many brothers? 11 brothers. Okay, going to bow down to you. So he put his people. It represented people. It didn't represent the actual physical sun or non-physical, whatever it is. It didn't mean the actual sun. It didn't mean the moon. It did not mean the stars. That is littered throughout these videos. Okay, I mean all over them. Nowhere in the Bible does the sun, the moon, and the stars, when that's being framed together, is it not speaking of something of the old covenant or speaking of the powers to be that were destroyed. Okay, so it's very important to note here. They understood that they were referring to people. So the intersection, again, it crosses over Illinois, and where the cross meets, it meets in Little Egypt. That's the town, I guess. Okay, and the reason why they're saying that this is a big thing because Egypt is where the Exodus happened. Okay, now what they're saying is there's a fault line because they're trying to link all these eclipses to earthquakes. Like, because I remember there was an eclipse in Alaska, then they ended up having a big earthquake. So they're saying that these massive earthquakes are going to start. Okay, because it's a big fault line under Little Egypt, and that when it crosses over, there's an alignment of the planets. Okay, which I don't really have to get into disproving because I'm pretty sure everybody listening right now. Okay, that one debunks
an alignment of planets. No!
Oh my god!
Oh my god! The lights in the sky. So I'm gonna let the audience figure that one out on their own. I don't want to have to preach to a choir, So fault lines, planets, and all that other stuff. Trash it, throw it out. It means nothing for Bible prophecy because we know that we occupy a motionless plane. We know that we occupy a cosmology that is not the one that is taught to us. So I don't have to, like I said, preach to a choir here. It's globe earth nonsense, and like I said, you guys can explain your own cosmologies. I don't have to do it for you. So yeah, I guess there's a rare planetary alignment where all 7 planets are in a straight line, and the Pons-Brooks comet, which is what do they call it? The Devil comet. Ooh, the Devil comet. Again, well, nonsense.
Is that how space works, though? I mean, I'm just thinking. I don't mean to derail this whole fucking thing, but isn't that just a matter of perspective? Like, not to get too existential here, but like if you're in space, because one perspective shows the planets are in alignment, does that mean that no matter how you look at these planets, they're all going to be in fucking perfect alignment? Or is it because you're in fucking space and you just happen to be looking at them from this specific angle that they happen to look like they're all in alignment?
I'm sure there's an angle where you could get them all in alignment all the time, if from a space perspective.
From a space perspective,
if we're going imagination land, yes, I'm sure there's an angle where you could. Yeah, if we're living in the cartoon world, then yes, it's probably always aligned at some angle or something like that.
I guess that's the magic space beam of energy that happens when they all align. That it's just now what's pointing at Earth because the Earth is looking right down the barrel of the magic space beam.
Yep. So
Now, Josh,
Yeah, but when you line up all those gravitational points in one area, what the fuck is?
Syzygy is what they call that. I think I was watching the 3-body problem.
I think you're right. Yeah, syzygy. Extra
No,
gravity.
what's fun with this is like in current space weather, Josh, one of their new favorite catchphrases is subsolar point and sublunar point. And if you'll know what the solar flares and the different things affecting our electronics and that, what's interesting about these words coming into play is what they mean. Your subsolar point is literally what I call Lahaina noon, or it's where your sun would cast no shadow, that it's supposedly directly overhead, and your sublunar point would be the same. But tell me, in their silly model on this, or on our fine model, they also say that like those direct hits and other things, the reason it's like not so hot in the middle of the tropics compared to glancing off of it is that direct angle deflects it. Why isn't it deflecting it with the space weather on these things? In other words, they can't seem to get their story straight because it would be the same bandwidth and that would be affecting the other way and making it through. But I think it's interesting that, again, this sun being 93 million miles away and us having an atmospheric shield and that it really affects our electronics in that directly at that subsolar point. That subsolar point that you would think that from space or that it would depend on where you were on the spinning globe would probably change with you or that, the distance, but it doesn't. But that's just for nerdy, because if you look in on all of the different pages, if you follow the auroras and what's going on with the magnetic field, you'll see that is like one of their favorite all of the sudden new catchphrases, because those are the areas they're looking at right now. When the sun flares, they're looking at that subsolar point and the sublunar point. And if you look those definitions up, they're fun, but they make no sense when you think them out on the globe model, and yet perfect sense when you put them in the flat earth. But I digress, and I'll be quiet again. I just had to throw in that nerd one because you brought up with the alignments. Are they real? Are they an imagination? I think they would be imaginary in a flying water ball, but I think they could be very real on a flat stationary plane.
Yeah.
Angle is everything.
Angle is everything, but it also just, from us, you're just pointing to us being at the center, us being at the center of creation. And it goes back to all the cosmologies. Of course, you're going to have things like that happen in a perfectly designed universe, and we don't have to get into the details, but you go back ancient China, Inca, Maya, I've been to those pyramids. I've seen these cultures. They knew where they lived, they knew where they lived. These people were building stuff that we couldn't imagine, and it's one thing to see them on TV, but when you're standing on the top of one, that's a whole nother ball game. Like it's incredible. And there is no way that these people were not spiritually entwined to where they live. They got everything right, all these measurements, all this, everything, but they did it on some ball hurling, all these directions. It's just asinine, but we have these perfect eclipses where everything fits perfect, but it's always coincidental that the size of the moon happens to be exactly 400 times smaller and exactly 400 times closer than the sun to make it fit perfectly. And so it's just ridiculous when you look at it from that perspective on a motionless plane, on the cosmology that we know exists to the best of our ability. We're not sending stuff to Antarctica personally yet, but from our standpoint, yes, there are going to be perfect alignments and perfect things happening in the sky because we live in a perfect creation, a big clock, if you would, So, yeah, it's pretty wild. But as far as like, I've taken all the biblical things that are in every single one of those, and none of them actually line up to something modern day. Okay. Now, last year, a rare, very rare solar eclipse went over Texas, where the red heifer was. Okay. So they think we're going to reinstate the old law system okay, and we're going to take the red heifers from Texas and we're going to send them to Israel, and all of a sudden we're going to be under the, old Mosaic, Old Testament again, and we're going to ship these heifers from Texas. That's what people are saying, or they're basically implying is going to happen. They don't say it like that, because when you say it like that, you actually understand how ridiculous it sounds. If we have Christ, okay, if we have Yeshua, okay, we don't need Mosaic law. The Jews don't need Mosaic law. The Jews don't need the old covenant again, okay? Jesus, the Jews, Peter, James, John, all of them, they came out of the old covenant, okay? And the fulfillment was Christ, okay? So you can't take that stuff and say that that's a sign of something happening now when it is done. So if you're going to use it biblically, use it correct. It's biblical language is what is referred to, okay? Then they're saying like the eclipse is like a wedding ring. Okay, so this is another sign, biblical sign that the end is near, because Jesus has his bride. Okay, and there's supposed to be a new bride. Okay, again, Jesus took a new bride, the Jews and the Gentiles. So there's not some old covenant coming back. That work is done. We're thousands of years past that point, but people are bringing it up again, selfishly sticking themselves as the main character of the Bible as some prophetic thing. And I guess, the way I would end this, right, to basically, I tried to think of a way to shut down, because there's a common denominator between all these biblical people, false prophesizing, these wolves in sheep clothing, I'll call them, because that's what they are. They're wolves. They're ravenous people deep down inside. And they got hundreds of thousands of followers on these TikToks and YouTube channels and all this stuff. But inwardly, deep inside them, you've got to know that they are ravenous wolves. They're in sheep's clothing. They're not good people. They're not good people if they can look past what the Bible says about the repercussions of false prophesying, and then taking it, false prophesying, leaving out all the important knowledge, like that's old covenant stuff. I looked for a way to sum this all up to where anytime you hear it, the average person who's not studying the Bible every day but likes the Bible or is into this stuff, okay? And anytime you hear near, anytime you hear at hand, anytime soon, ready, okay, soon, ready, at hand, near, anytime you ever hear that being used as evidence of something from modern days, you cannot find one time in the Bible where it hasn't already happened, okay? Soon, it's already happened. Near, it's already happened. At hand, especially, it's already happened. These things have already happened. So to calm yourself, because a lot of Christians are getting scared. They're not using their eyes to see. They're not using their ears to hear, okay? Just listen for the words soon, at hand, near, any of that stuff. It's already, all that stuff's been fulfilled, okay? It's not speaking of anything in the modern times that we are now.
But isn't that
isn't
that kind of the bitch, though? I mean, when you have got a book that's like written in parable and be like left open to interpretation, like the only way to interpret this book is to completely interpret it.
Study.
I'm not going to tell you anything, right? I'm not going to say anything outright. Everything needs to be open to interpretation. So because of that, now we need someone to interpret the interpretations and tell you which interpretations are right and which interpretations are wrong. And so,
but that's what God wants you to be. He wants you to be deep into this word, But
that's had he just been forthright and said, "Look, here's my actual word. Here's what I actually mean in these parables. This is what I'm trying to get across," and that way we can dig into that. Because people will dig.
But it was a tool.
People will dig into fuck all. People will dig into anatomy of a unicorn if you give it to them. I mean, he could have totally said, "Here's what I actually mean," and we would have all dug into it just as much if it was like given us parables for us to interpret, and then be like, "Oh, dude, you fucked that up. Sorry, you didn't interpret my double speak right."
But see, here's the thing, though. You're combining Old and New Testament, though. Parables are New Testament. Okay, those are Jesus's words. Okay, everything that's been taken as proof of some sort of prophecy that's about to happen, they're taking it from the old from the Old Testament. It's that work's already been done, you know. So it's like the sun, the moon, and the stars. That's already been done, and that was speaking of the powers.
Well, no, you said that was parable, though, right? The sun, the moon, and the stars don't really mean sun, moon, and the stars in the sky. They're talking about the countries and the powers that be at the time, right? Because that's
it wouldn't be considered a parable. No, so the parables would be like when Jesus spoke to Peter and he said, "Hey, when you cast your net off to the side, you gather what? All sorts of fish." Okay.
Okay.
You're going to be a fisherman of life. So parables come from Jesus. Those are his stories. Now it's used as a tool, though. Okay. So the eyes to see, ears to hear thing. Okay. Now the reason why it's important is because if you read those and you don't understand them, that's God telling you, and He specifically tells you this. You read this and you don't understand this, you're not in the right place. You need to seek deeper enlightenment through Christ. Okay. Till those words speak back to you, because this book is DNA based. It's alive. You know, so the fact of just not blatantly saying it is his way of weeding out the bad people, okay, and the people who are good. It's not to confuse people. It's the people that are true to their hearts and where they want to be, or where they're supposed to be in life. They're going to understand the parable because that's where Christ wants them to be. They're doing the right thing in life. And that it's crazy how it happens, but I didn't start understanding parables until I started giving my life to Christ. And then I'm like, oh, that's what sowing the seeds means. The ones that fall on the rocks, the ones that they started all making sense to me because I was putting myself spiritually in the right place with God.
But there are
and
people,
then the parables started speaking to me.
There are people that would love to live in that land of whatever that avatar planet is, right? Because it really speaks to them, right? So now they can interpret all their fucking life and base it on this magical planet that was created by James Cameron and put on the big screen for them, and now they want it to be a real live place, and that's what they're going to do it on. And that's how they can now view everything and interpret everything through the view of this Avatar movie.
Yeah, but like we're living in Satan's kingdom. You know, two gods are spoken about in the Bible.
Well,
one's a lowercase g, one's a capital G. You know,
if you can interpret the Bible in any way and make sense of it in any way, shape, or form, is that good or bad? Someone has to decide if the way that you have interpreted it and made sense of it. Yes, it makes sense. It makes total sense to me, but it doesn't mean that it's doing anybody good. I mean, the Crusades made sense to people that were fighting the Crusades. Spanish Inquisition made sense to the people that were asking the questions. I mean, you can interpret it a lot of different ways and say, yep, that makes perfect sense. But that doesn't, I don't see how that is a justification, especially as something as important as what it's talking about.
Yeah, well, it would be like that, I would agree, if it didn't plainly say to you that this is why they're written in that manner. You'll understand them if you're close with me. You'll understand them if you're with Christ. So then when you actually try to fight to be in that position...
It says that in the Old Testament?
No, this is the New Testament.
But that's
I'm on the New Testament.
Is that a parable, or is that like to be interpreted directly? Or is that itself a parable?
That was direct.
How do you know what is directly saying what it is, or what is a parable?
Because he said, I'm going to speak of this stuff in parable. He specifically separated, that's going to be a parable. He's going to point at it like, this is going to be the parable, you know? And then that's when it goes on through Matthew to explain that if you're understanding this, then you're on the right path, basically. So Jesus makes it very clear that this is why they're being spoken like that. But also parables, okay, things, I don't know if parabolically would be the term, but things spoken, I'll just use it now, I could be wrong, but things spoken parabolically sounds right. They can survive the test of time, you know, because we got, you know, that's a book that needs to last forever. So if there's some sort of poetic form to it, what lasts forever, man? Like that we can see as far as our timeline, you know, like, you know, you got famous poets, their work lives on from their work, you know? So that is not specifically mentioned like that in the Bible. That's how I interpret it, that it's also a way for it to carry the test of time, you know? So I think that's even just a beautiful thing that's my conviction. I see it like that. You know, but I don't believe that it specifically says that it's meant to be like that. But Jesus does separate that I'm speaking like this for you to understand. So like when the net happened with Simon, He didn't understand what God was doing yet, taking him as a disciple. Follow me, you sinful man. You know, he goes, I don't even know what a catcher of fish is.
So was
That's
Jesus?
what he was like.
So was the Jesus talking to Simon? Was that the parable that the Bible is talking about, or was it the?
Yeah, he spoke to him as he was taking him on as a disciple. He says, I need you to follow me. And that's when, you know, Simon fell to his knees, basically, you know, said, I'm a sinful person. Depart, get away from, I'm not worthy of your presence, you know? And he spoke to him in a parable of referring back to the net and the fish and stuff like that. But what was the disciples' job to do? To go out and spread the gospel to all walks of life. You know, what's in the net? All walks of fish. You're going to be a catcher of men instead of a catcher of fish now. So he used that so he goes, I don't even understand what that means, but I'm going to follow him. But as he grew close to Christ, okay, the Messiah that had just come, he understood the parable because he got closer to Christ. They're not like these jigsaw puzzles or anything like that. But if you go to these people that are using the biblical language, completely twisting it to make it look like some doomsday is about to happen, but they're ripping stuff from the Old Testament and stuff that's already been completed and done, and they're actually making it look like now, the near, all that stuff. That stuff has already been done. That's done with, gone. You know, the reason why the Bible's withstood the test of time is because you can study this thing every day for the rest of your life and you never stop learning. There is no book like it, you know. And then where does this come from? How could this be divinely authored? It's a great question. How could God have spoken through these people to create this? Okay, do you want to know what's broken down in code in the Bible? Okay, protons, neutrons, electrons, carbon, you know, oxygen, all this stuff is broken down in code in the Bible. We didn't have that technology thousands of years ago to look deep into carbon and all the technology we have to see, you know, what has 8 protons, 8 neutrons, 8 electrons. Okay, anytime you link 888 in the Bible, okay, it refers to the breath of life, and it links back to a perfect code that already did a lot of the stuff that's off the elements of the periodic table. You know, there's no way that these goat herders, you know, flinging poop, horse and buggy, whatever, could have written a code that was so advanced that authors over the course of 1,400 years, okay, 44 authors, I believe it is, over the course of about 1,400 years, wrote a code that perfectly coincides with each other and predicts things like Adolf Hitler, right down to, you know, like I said, carbon and oxygen and all these things. And these codes are perfectly designed to the point where they found out that the codes are more advanced than an actual supercomputer. Okay, we don't have all the codes yet. We're still breaking them out of the scripture. You know, it's called the Gematria code. Okay, that's what, if you want scientific proof, it's impossible for man to have written it. It's not possible for man to code that, especially without computers, you know, especially without the technology to see what oxygen is, to look deep through microscopes and see what carries all these things. You know, they're perfectly predicted, designed, and placed into the Bible in Gematrian code. You know, so that's one scientific proof. If you go to Mount Sinai, okay, the Bible says that God came out of the mountain. Okay, now there's this mountain right outside Exodus. It's the only mountain around where the top of it is burnt to glass. It's just a black ring around it. Matches up perfectly with the Bible. A pillar was left by King Solomon. Okay, there was 2 pillars. One had fallen and it was ruined, where the Red Sea was actually departed. If you look, they did seismograph, I think it's called, of the Red Sea, and there's a perfect path going through, leading right up to that pillar. Okay, and then they did, you know, they sent things down. They found wagon wheels or I forget what those things are called, pieces of stuff that people dragged across it. Those artifacts are all littered across this trail at the bottom of the Red Sea that was, you know, parted. Okay, and now they allegedly celebrated. They were all thirsty, and there was this magical rock in the Bible where water sprung from it. Right where they say that happened, there's this, I mean, this thing sticks out like a sore thumb, this massive, huge rock that's got a big split down the middle with water streams coming out of it, perfectly forming out of the rock. And what they did is they made a golden calf in basically like it was like let's say a ritual, but like a thank you. Like they made this golden calf. Engraved in that is golden like calves. They look like calf hieroglyphics, basically. So if you look up what happened in the Bible, then you go to these places, it all lines up. Tops of mountains don't catch on fire. There's no way that sulfur balls where it melted soil just exist in this one spot where the Bible says that's where God came from. He came up out of there, So if you want science, the science is there. If you want code, the code is there. I mean, it's way more advanced than we could. You could take, I don't want to say Elon Musk, but we'll just use him from a smart person's perspective. You could take 1 million Elon Musk, give them 1 million years, and they still could not write the Bible. It's not physically possible for humans to have written something so perfectly divine, so connected, and so advanced, not just in the physical evidence that still lies all over the Middle East right now, but the actual codes that are actually written inside of it. So it's the deeper you go into it, it's a book that you never stop learning from. And yeah. Sorry, went nuts on that.
It seems like you've been diving deep.
Right, I love the passion.
Yeah, no, that was awesome stuff, man.
Yeah, it's pretty. It's. I guess the way to put it is to know that your beliefs, line up with actual, tangible, physical, observable evidence, which most people just say, "Oh, the Bible was written by these people." Like, no, it wasn't. They had mathematicians look at these codes, right? And they were so skeptical beforehand. And then once they actually read the codes and looked at how perfectly they are and how advanced they are, they started going, okay, there's something to this, because that's impossible for man to have done. There's one page, I don't know the Gematria code. I don't know what page it is in the Bible, but I've skimmed over this one. I tried re-looking for it. I couldn't find the exact person that was breaking this code down. But when you take all the codes that are in the Gematrian code and say you make them boldface, the letters in the Bible boldface, and in the code makes a perfect cross in the Bible page, like it's mathematically impossible for it to happen. Right down to the middle of the Bible, the Gematrian codes that are right at the middle of the Bible, the Gematrian codes that are just littered throughout the whole thing. It's a rabbit hole that once you go down, I mean, if the Bible is the beginning, that's as deep as the rabbit hole goes. So you're going to be searching and breaking down things that are just mind blowing.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, it comes to us from many different avenues, and walks of life. This isn't just something that's going to happen if you read the Bible, or if you do this, or if you do that. I mean, this message comes, like you said, it's universal.
Yeah.
It wasn't written by man, so it doesn't have to be only heard from that book, It's like you said, it's telling the story of physics and all kinds of things.
Yeah. And one interesting point too is this ancient Chinese literature that spoke of Christ. The Buddhists or the monks speak of living in a Christ-like consciousness. The Quran speaks of Christ as a prophet. Every other religion, I want to say, Christ isn't a religion, killed Christ. He came to put an end to religion. That new covenant was to be spiritually and follow Christ's words. But every religion, okay, Islam, I don't want to get into it. It's way too deep of a left-hand turn. But if you go into all these different religions, everyone speaks of Christ. So they all have their own thing, but they all have one thing in common, and that would be Yahshua, Christ. And so I'm not going to lean into a Hindu way of life. I'm not going to weigh into a monk way of life. They're all talking about Christ. And then you have the word of Christ. And John 14:6, I believe it is, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one gets to the Father except through me. So he's very, very clear that he is the way. When they asked Muhammad, what happens when you die? He didn't know. When they asked Buddha, what's next? He didn't know. He said, keep searching and hopefully you'll find it. Do not take me as your prophet, basically. Christ is the only one that said, I'm the way, I'm the truth, I'm the life. And it's free too. I know it people think they're going to get a bill in the mail if they stop believing in Christ. The bill comes after you die, and it's free to believe. And to atheists out there, why not believe? I mean, the risk that you're taking, okay, in believing, you have the chance to gain everything. And by not believing, you have the chance to lose everything, and it's just almost like a secular, hip, you're smart if you don't believe in it. It's like a trend, to not, that you're smart, you're intelligent, you're an astrophysicist, there's no God. We checked. We've all seen that, meme where they're showing Earth as like a speck of dust, These people think they're smart. I just see men. I just see people, I feel like, you can come as big and as strong as you are, but I'll always be a David in every situation that I'm put in, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. That's beautiful.
Yes, it does.
It's so awesome seeing you.
Thank you, man.
Like this, man.
A good
Glowing,
place.
man.
Fire.
Yeah,
Fucking getting it. Yep.
Like, he came back. He's crazy on.
I was just glad to see that fire in you again. That life. Yeah. Awesome, brother.
Yeah, man. I have a calling, and I like I said, I feel my own glow. I feel my own power, in what I'm doing, and I want everybody to win in life. I want us all to win. I want us all to thrive, and I want us all to have that gift that God is offering to us.
Yeah, now you understand why there's those people that go out and preach and do all this kind of stuff, because they just want to share that feeling.
Mm-hmm.
That right there.
Yep. A lot of false teachers out there, though, man.
Yeah,
a lot of false teachers. You'll see nobody more critical than Christianity than me. I will criticize it right down to the prophecies of that they're saying biblical. A lot of Christians are latching onto this.
Right.
They're just not, like theologians. You gotta look at the meaning of things. It's there for you to understand and study and learn and stuff. And yeah, I wish it was easier, and I wish I had a reason to why it wasn't so easy. But if everything in life was perfect and we got up, we went to the perfectly, job, and we had this perfect trade and barter system, and we all knew that everything was just perfect in life, wouldn't you have a lot more questions? Like, whoa, who's controlling all this? You know what I mean? The beautiful thing is we have this willpower that is free, and we don't have a choice but to believe in free will, which is kind of an oxymoron, but you got to believe in free will because you don't have a choice. You're free to do what you want, but you have to believe in it. That's the one thing you really don't have free will on, is to believe in the fact that we have free will. And that's what makes it so special.
Can't you know that we have free will? Wouldn't that be a difference? Knowing that we have free will be different than believing in the fact that we might have free will. Belief would be different than knowing, and we can know that we have free will.
Yep.
So we don't have to
free
believe.
Will is a gift. Free will is a gift, like, I mean, let's be honest, man. Like, let's just think of a life that was perfect in this world. Think of the questions you would have if you could at least think somewhat. Like, who's doing all this? Who's in control of me? This doesn't seem right.
Isn't that the difference between the angels and us? They know all this stuff. They know how it works. They have this great, huge power, but they don't have free will. They have to do exactly what God commands them to do. And that's their life.
It's angelic stuff is like the cherubim, I believe, like the guard of Eden was a cherubim angel. There's a lot of like the origins of these angels that we don't know, and there's only 3 angels, if I'm not mistaken, spoken of in the Bible. You can, and anything I'm saying right now, like you correct me in the chat if I'm saying a verse wrong or something like that. I'm always open because I understand that this learning process never ends. but like angelic origins are very mysterious, you know, and you're right, you know, they would have to be like that, you know. But I think the three angels would be Gabriel, Michael, and Lucifer. I can't think of any other angels that actually got specific names in the Bible. There was the cherubian angel that guarded Eden and stuff like that.
Yeah, they'll speak of like the seraphim, they'll say, and that's just a choir of angel. You know, that's not an actual name of the angel. The angel's name, yeah.
Well, there are books that talk about like Uriel and what's the guy out in the desert? But these are all like other books, like the Quran and the, you know what I'm saying? Those are like not biblical. I don't know what I'm trying to explain here. Because I've looked into the hierarchy of angels too. There was a book I read years ago by Neil Gaiman that dealt with it in a way that made me really dig deep into it. And yeah, that's back when I found out about Freud and the demon list too, was back then. Zack.
Yeah. I mean, I have experiences when I was younger. Like, I lived in a house that was demonic. You know, I saw these things firsthand. Like, they exist. The amount of evil there is in this world, they're there, 100%. You know, and I think one of the best proofs of God is how much these elites worship Satan. You know, like, they're obviously evil controllers.
And they're not even hiding it anymore. Yeah.
They're not even hiding it. You know, the Lady Gaga concerts and, you know, the stuff at the Super Bowls and all these rituals and Madonna and all this stuff.
Maria Abravam or whatever her fucking name is. The
artist.
Personal witch bitch. Yeah, the artist. Yeah.
Spirit cooking and all that shit.
Yeah, I always said one of the best proofs of God is how much evidence there is that there is evil, Satan. And we have to have some sort of moral law. What makes good, good? What makes bad, bad? You know? There's no way to put it. We have a conscience. We were given a conscience. And it's deep stuff. And, you know, like you were saying about the angels, like, there's a lot of names of angels that are, you know, spoken about, but I think biblically, I don't think there's many more than Lucifer, Gabriel, and Lucifer that were actually spoken about what they were doing.
I think Abaddon is in like isn't Abaddon over the pit or something? Man, it's been so long, Brandon. I used to know all this crap, and I haven't read any of it in so long. Let me look. Hang on. Let me look. I don't want to say something I don't know correctly. By name.
I know there's not many. That's all I know. I from my own, if I had to go like into my own, you know, storage.
I lost the page.
Yeah.
It came up and then it closed. All right, so I see that Gabriel was mentioned 4 times. Michael 4 different times. Lucifer. They don't give me a number on this one. And then there it is. Abaddon, Apollonian, who was the fallen angel ruling over the abyss, talked about in Revelation. Now, there is also what they call the angel of the Lord, but I mean, was that actually a manifestation of God? Was that like you know, that, again, that whole thing. And then when you start getting into the things like the Mellotron, I mean, like, just, there's so many things that are talked about in movies and shows and things that people assume from that it was in the Bible, and it isn't, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And then all the prophecies are coming one day. I remember growing up with the late great Planet Earth. What was his name? Oh man, that author. And it was the big book in the 70s. Everybody's like, oh, and it's coming any day now. And then in the 80s, it was another guy. It was another author who was the big, oh, it's happening now. You know, and it was just so tedious. Ponderous, man. Ponderous.
Here's a statistic that's quite amazing. For people who have predicted the end of the world, they've been 1,000% wrong. They've never been right. So, you know, I was thinking of making a video where I take like my own like evidence and I cook up this like why the world's ending on April 8th, and then at the ending just being like, I made all that up. You know, just to see how many people would latch on to it. Yeah, I know of Gabriel in the Bible. I know of that. Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, what happens? And then twisting it, you know, taking, something that was fulfilled from the Old Testament, twisting it to somehow make it look modern, put some creepy music in the background, and then false prophesize and dish out this whole world is going to end. I'm not saying that they're not going to try something on that day, but it's not going to be biblical. It's going to be, if something happens per se.
It'll be fucking blue beam or some shit. Will throw at everybody, right? He's here. He's in the sky. Look.
That's coming. That's coming. The space card's the last card. And, I think the date of the treaty does anybody know the date where the Antarctic Treaty ends? That's like 2042.
I think so. 2040. It can't be questioned at all until then. Yeah, they can't even bring it up but that's when it'll be discussed again.
Yeah. So I think that time frame between it was signed 58 or something like that. I don't know. It was in the 50s. It was signed, and it was agreed upon to 2042. We'll just say, if it's 47, I apologize. That's the time frame that they gave themselves, to have all their work be done. Because once it's free to go there, people are really going to go there, and they say, oh, I can go to a lot, Antarctica right now and see what's there. It's like, no, you can go to like an island and maybe go into this controlled area on land, or maybe this one mountain they'll let you ski down, but you're not freely traveling it, and there's no oil companies going out there to drill for oil. There's no, there's this massive abundant resources out there.
Yeah, what birds say, there's more resources than he's ever seen. Just uranium and coal and just all this stuff out there, just loads of it.
A mountain of coal, right? Coal.
We'll shove a missile up a goat herder's ass in friggin' Afghanistan and get some of their oil and put a banking system in it. But this whole thing, America won't go there and take it with all the greed in this world. No, I think that time frame between when they signed it and when they finished it, how like everything is a stage. It's already pre-planned. It's already, we all know that. All the listeners do. But I do think there is some significance between the date when they signed it. They had an agenda that was written out, maybe long before that, but I think it's to be fulfilled within that time frame. So as far as their dirty work, it's all going to happen within that time frame up. I think, the 2040, 2042 area is when they're
kick it into high gear.
Yeah,
that's when they're supposed to be done destroying, pillaging, controlling.
Well, that's when the third war will be over, right? That Albert Pike talks about.
Yes. Yep. Exactly. Good point.
Morals and dogma.
I keep seeing 2048 everywhere, but every time I click on it, it's all these weird, like they want me to sign up for everything before I can look at these answers, and I'm not doing all that. So, it seems to be 2048.
Yeah, I love how they'll always say, we've known about it for 2,000 years that the Earth is round and this and that, yada yada yada. But then you go and look in Morals and Dogma, which was written in like we'll just say 1850 maybe. And it says right in there, plain as day, the Earth as we know it is a flat, stationary plane. And they weren't saying for sure. He was saying, as far as we know, as far as we've looked and as all the measurements we've taken, we live on a flat, motionless plane. And that wasn't a book for the common person to be reading.
No.
That wasn't even a Master Mason's book to read. You had to be like, I think a level, it was either 7 or 14 degree Mason to even receive the book.
Wow. Interesting.
And most Masons don't even come close to that,
So I don't want to change courses or derail or anything, but I do have a question. I'm a little bit confused. Didn't we just have a non-event lunar eclipse a few nights ago?
We did.
I'm seeing a live video feed right now of one occurring, and it is a dark, bloody. They're saying it's penumbral as well, but huh?
I got up and watched it. It was like 3:00 in the morning.
I'll be right back.
The other day? Yeah.
Yeah, it was like 4 nights ago, 5 nights ago.
Right. But this one literally live feed right now happening. Best view in about 12 minutes. It's saying. I just clicked because I saw it was live. I'm like, what? That was the other day. Why is this still running? But this is allegedly happening right now. I'm just confused. Do they have every other night now? Is that?
Where's the moon? I don't see it.
Let me see if I can share what I'm seeing so you guys can see it too. Here we go. This is the feed I'm seeing right now. Where it is, I haven't figured out yet. Yeah.
So Lunar.
This is not. Yeah, it's not telling me where. It just says beginning 2 hours. Well, something. And then it ends at 3:32 p.m. EDT, 1932 GMT.
Oh, they got to be replaying the one that happened a few days ago because that was the exact same time that it happened.
Okay.
Like,
yeah, I know a lot of people been doing that lately. I've been getting some CNN 18 or something like that that's been showing live coverage of stuff that's happened like days ago.
Well, that's why I was like, well, this just happened, didn't it? Why is it live? Yeah. So that's why I was a little confused. Okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to derail it for sure. But that
it's not just them. I've been seeing all kinds of people doing that. Yeah, it's live. This is live. This is live. This is live, and it's a recording.
Yep. It's a live of a recording.
Yeah, it's a live recording.
Oh shoot. Yeah, you see that on TikTok a lot. I went outside and checked it out. I mean, I saw a little partial part of it. I did have a good view of the moon, but I wasn't in a good path of it. But I remember on Tuesday, my wife was like, "Did you go outside at 3:30 this morning?" Is it like the home security system tells you get notifications? She's like, right. What were you doing? And I was like, oh, I was just checking out the eclipse. She's like, there was an eclipse? I'm like, yeah, evidently. I heard it that night, and I just went outside and set my alarm and went outside to check it out, just to check it out, you know?
Yeah, we had some people watching it that we know, and they, from where he was, I believe was in North Carolina, right. There was nothing. The moon didn't change at all.
Yeah. Yep. That's basically what I got. I got a little cold, even know if it was part of it, but that's what I got, was a little shadow. It was nothing that
you've seen before.
Yep. I gotta charge these AirPods.
There you go. You heard it happen too. Okay, I didn't know if you knew that something had shifted on your sound. Oh, you don't hear me.
Yeah, can you still hear me though?
Oh, you do hear me. Okay.
I hear you. I hear you.
Hey, buddy, see a lunar eclipse?
Yeah, it was over by the time I got out there at like 5 a.m.
Do you guys also remember in 2017? See, now what they're saying a lot too now is all the sheriff's departments are planning for it. Every state has an emergency plan, and I'm like looking at my state. There's no emergency plan, and we're in totality here. But do you remember in 2017 when all I want to call them rabbit holes, but they're not. They end up being sewer holes because you go down them, you find a bunch of crap, and useless information. But you remember in 2017, that was supposed to be it. They were saying the same exact things about the emergencies, and they were saying the same exact things about the biblical.
Oh yeah, it made me leave Oregon, dude. Mm-hmm. I was in Oregon. I would have been in the path of totality. I was there with my family visiting. Mom was sick, but I mean, she usually was when I would go visit, and I could have been there. They had a place to go and be right there, dead middle of it. And the lead up fear porn that state's government, not people on TV or the news, the government people were pushing the fucking fear porn. Gas up for 3 or 4 days, have food and storage, and bar your windows and get your shot. I'm like, what the fuck are you going to do that day? I'm out of here. Going home. I'll see my little piece at my house.
But now, according to the false prophesizers of this one, that's never happened before. And I'm like, it just happened. It literally just happened. Like 2017, the exact same thing was going on. And I was, again, saying, oh my God, like, I just want this date to be over with. You know, there was last summer, there was a day that was supposed to be the end of the world. It was all over TikTok, and it's so painful. These doomsday prophesizers are just, they're twisting information, and they're also just setting themselves up for some bad stuff, because like, you're not supposed to add to the Bible, take from the Bible, twist the Bible, you know, and the same exact thing happened. Yeah. Yep. Same thing happened in 2017. How many eclipses have happened throughout history? What's happening on April 8th is an eclipse, and that's it. Just like all the other ones we've had, you know. If you went in time and just checked out every eclipse, and you go in hindsight, you could make a million reasons why this is biblical, you know, and twist things around and make it look like it, you know. But there's not one thing out of any of these videos that actually correlates with something happening right now. You know, do I believe Jesus is close to coming, his return? Yeah, I think we're entering into that realm. I believe we're there to a degree, but we're not going to know when it's going to happen, you know? And I just want people to stop buying into this fear porn, and I want people to relax a little bit. You know, my main goal is for people to really just kind of calm down about it. You're doing yourself a disservice, you know, by putting all this fear and all this energy into this. It's another solar eclipse. That's all it is, you know. I do plan on going north, you know, with a P1000 and a solar lens, and getting into the totality and getting a live shot of this, and you know, being right, you know, at the front line of this, you know. And I, you know, talked to Josh and said I'll bring Iron Realm live with it, and they'll get their own, you know, direct link right into a live shot of it. Right now,
awesome.
As we're nearing this 10-day forecast, it's not looking good though. Not looking good for us. We got tons of rain. And
I literally just saw a video go by talking about the weather may mess up some of this for a lot of areas. Yeah.
Yep. So I'm kind of caught in between. Do I invest in going north to the Canadian border, and do I invest in, you know, a new solar lens for a camera, and do I invest in all this to go up there and not be able to get above the clouds? You know, do I go to Mount Washington and get a partial view of it, and hopefully at the top of Mount Washington, because you can drive to the top of that mountain, believe it or not. There's a road that goes all the way up, but it's the second highest point on the East Coast. I mean, you can ski this mountain into June. In fact, the back Tuckerman's Ravine is what they call it. It doesn't even open until the springtime because it's so dangerous in the wintertime. The weather's just too bad. The avalanches, the ice, it's not a safe ride until the you know, the springtime, and you got to hike up the backside of it. You can't, you know, traverse it from the top or anything like that. It's like, you know, you're going up for about 8 hours to ride this down. It's one of the gnarliest runs in America. It's, I think, an average of 7, 8, 9, 10 people die there a year. And you know, you can go to the top of that mountain.
Serious?
Yeah, it's gnarly, man. It's called Tuckerman's Ravine. Just pull up a picture of it if you want to see it. This is like this is a run that people come from all over to say, yo, I did Tuckerman's Ravine. It's a really cool place at the back of Mount Washington. But my only other thing I could think of was to drive to Washington, drive to the top, and hopefully be above the cloud system, which I'd be taking chances that would be, you know, you can see the tree line, how high up that is. I mean, it's just insane how the picture probably won't do it any justice, but that's the second highest point in the East Coast is the top of that right there, Mount Washington.
Wow.
Yep. So
that is awesome, man.
Oh yeah, you'll go up there in the spring. It'll be 80 degrees at the bottom, and there'll still be snow capped at the top. It's cool.
Yeah, I had never witnessed anything like that till I went out to the Rockies, and it was the day after the 4th of July, July 5th, and we went way up there, and yeah, we were walking in snow barefoot with shorts on.
Yeah,
it was just crazy.
Yep. the Rockies the White Mountains in New Hampshire are just special. They really are. But the Rockies are just like next level. And that's like Lord of the Ring mountains. You know what I mean? I think Mount Washington would probably be a big mountain out there, but not close to their biggest. The Rockies have mountains that are a couple thousand feet bigger than that, I believe.
Yeah, I never went up too high. Well, I did Mount Baldy, just over 14,000 feet. But we didn't go up too many that high. We didn't camp at anything that high. I think Guanella Pass was like 10,000 feet, something like that.
Yep. Yeah, I think Washington is like 7 or something like that, somewhere in that range. It's beautiful to see, though, man. It's got a campground called the Daley Cop at the bottom of it. It's the closest like place you can set up shop, I guess. If you're gonna go hiking it, you gotta thumb a ride. Because you can drive to the mountain, but there's no place to put your car. You got to camp out at the Daley Cop, which is like a couple miles away, and you get out on the road and you actually thumb to get to what they call the presidential range. You got Jefferson, Washington, and you got Jefferson, Washington, and another one. And there's 3 mountains. They're all connected. And they call it the presidential range. It's like the last leg of the what's the Appalachian Trail? Mm-hmm. It's like the final push through the Appalachian Trail, and it's the presidential range. And a lot of people have to go out on the road and actually thumb, and people in the area know what they're doing. So it's like you get a ride if you do it. You know what I mean? Because it's part of the culture there. And they'll get you to the mountain and get you to the trail and stuff. And then you got to start hiking at like 6 o'clock in the morning if you want to get to the top of that and down safely and not having, search and rescue dogs coming for you.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. So what's next for you, man?
I think just getting back in the game. As far as truth is concerned, and my TikTok is going really well. If anybody wants to follow it, I put out a lot of humor. You'll see that I'm not some, I don't come off as some Bible thumper or, you swear in front of me, I'm gonna, condemn you and so. No, I'm very free. I'll always be free.
Drop the link, man.
Yeah, for sure. Let me get it right now. So, I don't know if you saw, Josh. I sent you a couple videos of that line of traffic that I was telling you about at the beginning of the journey.
I saw the links. I've not had a chance to watch them yet.
Yeah, you get to see them. They're pretty cool because I had a bad tooth in the back of my mouth when I was doing this walk, and pair of pliers right at my tent. I ripped the thing right out.
You are the man.
I had no choice. I couldn't go. Where was I going to go? I don't have health insurance.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's the type of stuff that, like, when I say things happen throughout that journey that were just like intense. I mean, it was right down to yanking out one of those teeth that's supposed to be pulled anyways, one of those back ones, whatever. But yeah, I sat there. It's on the video, but it shows the line of cars and stuff that were there. I mean, I'm still in awe from it today. I got a QR code I could send you, or let's see, share profile. Would a QR code work?
I have no clue. My wife is the one who does the TikToking. She constantly sends me cool things from there, but I was going to get her on it and let her do it so she would know. I guess if there's a code, she can click it.
I mean,
or TikTok it, or whatever it is.
Yeah, let me send my QR code.
I can put it on the screen. You send it to me, I can put it on the screen, and then for people that are on TikTok that have a telephone that they can use to scan the QR code, it'll take them to
share profile. Yeah. Okay. It's coming to you right now. I don't know if this is going to come as a share profile or a QR code, but I think this might actually come as the link directly to it. So Joshua Ryan, go back to messages. No, just a link to my page, right there.
Cool deal.
Yep. and I'll get the QR code, screenshot it, I guess. And that would be, and there's a QR code right there. If you don't have TikTok, man, get on it, dude. It's great arguing with globeheads. They're like 2015 models. Oh, it's great. I got Nathan Thompson on there now, man. He's live every night, dude. Oh, it's freaking great, dude.
That's funny.
Me and him joke. They're like a 2015 model of the globehead. It's like, where did these people come from? You know, there's so many
like
good
ninth wave or whatever, right?
Yeah, asking the. I mean, remember those questions that we first had to be confronted with.
About boats over the horizon.
Boats over the horizon, yeah.
Dude, there was literally one in a comment earlier, and I couldn't stand it. I had to say something back. He started talking about the beach, and I'm like, oh, please, really? Is that where you are? What year is it?
Yep.
You can see the curve from the top of a mountain. It's like, no, you can't.
yeah, that type of stuff. Yeah, I've been on the ocean. I can see the curve when I'm out on the ocean and stuff. I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, sure, dude. It was just threw me by a loop when I started getting involved in truth on TikTok. I'm like, man, these guys must be Toyotas because they're running forever. They're still, I mean, they just coming out and realizing this, like where have they been, but there's on TikTok, like I messaged Nathan Thompson not too long ago, and I was like, yo, man, you got to get on TikTok, dude. He's like, nah, man, I don't want to, I'm like, trust me. I'm like, do it. And then we just left it at that. And then I'm scrolling one night at like 2 a.m. I see Nathan Thompson, and I go to his profile. He's got like 200 followers. He just opened the page. He's well over 1,000, like in a week. That kid's on TikTok every night now. Every single night, he's in the live debates, and you can get like a panel like we have right here. You can go live if you have X amount of followers, and you can have a panel. And it is great for truth, man. There is some amazing truthers on there. I would give, if people are on TikTok, that have TikTok, look up Vor, VOR. That guy is just incredible at the work he does. And then you got young guns like that kid Caleb Flat Earth. I mean, if you that in, he's, who I'm talking. He's like 27. He's all over TikTok. He's good, man. He's got a lot of you can see he's developing into this truther. But I mean, he's got a massive following on there. He's going live, stomping out globeheads every day. It's just, there's a good community on there of truth. And the reason why the government is trying to shut it down is because right now, as we speak, TikTok is the best source of news out there. Yes, it has tons of the false stuff, but it is the best source of world news that we have. And that's why our government doesn't like it, because they can't control it. They can't control it, man. And it's, like I said, there's amazing people on TikTok. You got to find the right ones. So shout out to Vor if he ever comes across this. That guy is amazing. He has a YouTube channel called Voice of Reason. That's what Vor, I guess, stands for. You don't have a chance, check him out. He just breaks down things in ways that makes it very easy for people to understand, but very complex things, I learned from him. I watch his YouTube and his TikTok every night. He goes live, or every other night, and all the time I'll tune into him. And then like I said, I like watching the young guns like Caleb and all these other kids, like all these people that back in 2015 were calling us crazy. I'm like, yeah, we're developing, we're molding people.
And it's so much different now, isn't it? Just the attitude of people. You get a lot more people that are willing to have the conversation and are interested in what you're saying, rather than just ridiculing you and laughing and walking away.
Yeah. Yep. Well, that's why, the truth is very seed-like, just like the, seeds, biblically, seeds that we say, plant the seeds. I remember years ago arguing with, what's that kid, Witsit? He probably doesn't remember me, but he was at the time, I was one of the flat earthers that people went to. And I remember going back and forth with Witsit. And now look at the kid. Mm-hmm. Look what he's doing. We're talking huge, massive following. So you wake up one person, that person could be responsible for waking up another million, another 2 million seeds planted, so you never know who's going to get it, who's going to latch on,
That's right.
So.
Somebody else we need to get on here is Austin.
He's got good stuff, man. I don't follow him.
Oh yeah.
Much, but he's good. He's good. He's really good, man. He's a smart kid. You know. Josh? Have you seen that kid Caleb?
I've not.
Yeah, look up Caleb Flat Earth, man, or if you just put that in, you'd find him. Whatever, if you get some free time. And I'll give Caleb a shout out. This kid's 27 years old, and he goes hard, and he's really smart. He's one of those like nerdy kids from high school that just turned into a truther, I guess would be a way to put it. I don't know, but he has no holds bar with his truth and stuff. So I'll give a shout out to Caleb too. And who else is raging on TikTok? There's a lot of them, man. A lot of people out there on TikTok.
Are you still playing video games? I remember you.
Oh yeah.
Do you ever jump on Fortnite?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm catching dubs all the time, bro.
Dude, search FE in the search engine for the map codes. Just type in FE. There's 5 different maps. I took the Flat Earth, the AE map, and I made it into a Fortnite map. So you can do North America, South America, Europe and Asia, Africa, or Australia.
Yep.
And I'm working on the one to do the whole thing, but the maps are in there right now. Yeah.
Yep. What people don't realize is, these underground Bitcoin dark web nerds, they're all flat earthers. They really are. They all know. I mean, they get into information, they hack into things. These kids are smart. If you go into that dark web, right, and all these kids that are around, these developers of Fortnite and these Bitcoin people, they're all flat earthers. They all know the cosmology of the earth. And I think that's so cool, because those are smart, from an educated smart. They're educated and smart, but they're also, discern. They have discernment, and stuff. So I forget who it was. It's that big dude that's on YouTube. He's famous. He messes around with like the Nelk boys and stuff like that. He's a flat earther, and he was doing this thing about, he talks to a lot of these people on the underground, and they all know the earth. It's the amount of people that we think are, true to the earth's shape is it's actually much larger than that.
Keyboard.
That I believe. I wish more people would just come out with it. I will say that I spent years arguing on the internet. Years. And it was sort of
years.
It got, well, I think Brendon is now at a point in his life where he can appreciate. Like, it's a never-ending tidal wave. Like, they're getting paid to do it. They're not all, some are getting paid to do it. And there's just so much ignorance out there, whether it's about flat Earth or it's about the heliocentric model itself, and they don't even know what the fuck they're talking about or what they're supposed to be arguing. There's just so much ignorance out there that you can absolutely devote that much time and energy, but it's just going to affect, when it started to affect my life, my relationships, because it was just a nonstop onslaught of ignorance. And yeah, you can pick your battles, you can pick and choose, but it's still every day you're like, oh my God, can you be that fucking stupid? Like, how? And it's just like every fucking day you're like, oh my God, you motherfucker. And you just want to get mad. And you don't really get mad, but you're like, well, fuck you. I'm just going to get passive aggressive and fuck it. I'll just let you fucking rage quit because you're a piece of shit. And you're just going to, now pretty soon you come home because you've been arguing on the way home. But it was just fine. Like, oh, fuck. I'm like, yeah, that motherfucker on the internet. You're like, oh, shit. Maybe this is the life for me. And you get to the point, like, all right, God, look, there's only so much I can do, and I've had all I can stand, and I can't stand no more. There's nothing more that I can do. I mean, I can say the same shit. I've said the same shit for years, like thousands upon thousands of tweets saying the same fucking thing. and it doesn't do a bit of good. Most of them don't listen. Most of them don't care enough to really pay attention. And the rest of them are getting paid to just waste your time. It's just going to be so much of a time suck that you realize that you just have to abandon it and give it to the next generation and hope that the seeds that you planted are going to be enough, because by God, there's nothing else I can fucking do. There's no fucking way someone's going to drag me back into that fucking ring. I don't care what the fuck Adrian says. Ain't fucking happening. But I appreciate the notion of TikTok and the Caleb's and the Austins and everybody out there fucking doing the good fight, fighting the good fight. Because fuck me, it ain't worth it to me. Ain't worth it. Your salvation ain't worth it to me no more. I love you all. I love you all humans. I don't care your race, color, creed, sexuality, what pronoun you want to claim to have. I don't fucking care. I love you regardless. But fuck you. I ain't arguing you on the internet about the shape of the earth. That's not true.
Yep.
That's not true. I say that now. Every once in a while, I'll get a wild hair up my ass and maybe just need to vent and let loose the hounds of hell and say, "Oh,
I ain't taking no more calls." All right, next caller.
That's about right.
I mean, from looking back at it, I think in 2015, 16, I believe most of us are OGs in the industry, I guess you could say. I say industry, I'm using
yeah.
But we're pretty much all OGs here, right? We all kind of like had at one point, this is gonna, look, this is growing so fast.
Oh yeah, this is gonna over. This is it. This will be the one. This will fix it all. All right.
Yep. The world's gonna know and stuff. And I mean, I had envisioned this, the Great Awakening that everybody was talking about, 16, 17, 18, the Great Awakening. Yeah, there was a Great Awakening. But I came to the conclusion, this is my conviction, I came to the conclusion that the knowledge, I mean, obviously it is, fixed and immovable, motionless. I mean, it's obvious. You can see it objectively, okay? You have to go against every God-given sense you have to believe in what they tell you, okay? So I just kind of came to the conclusion that you're either meant to be able to accept this knowledge, or you're not meant to accept this knowledge. So it's not so much an argument for me now. It's just mastering seeing the signs of, okay, this person's like bamboo. If I put a seed here, it may not do anything for 5 years, but I could see something sprouting maybe, in 5 years, I could see it come up in a week, The bamboo seed is an amazing thing, by the way. I believe that's how it works. You plant that seed and it doesn't grow for like a half a decade. And then once the bamboo starts to grow, it grows in like a week.
Yeah, good luck trying to stop that stuff once it starts.
Exactly. So I look at it as like bamboo seeds, but I just came back, it's a spiritual thing. It's either we're able to or we're not able to, because it's obvious that it is. The answer is obvious, So what stops people from understanding what is objectively in front of their face, what is objectively obvious, what is objectively the truth? It has to be a spiritual thing, that they are either meant to get it or not meant to get it. I've always been blessed to been able to bring people the truth. I had some times where the conversations on Facebook literally turned into phone calls, into threats, into them being moderators in my group. So it's like, you never know where it's going to go, but I've just try to master picking and choosing the people I'm trying to reach, and just seeing if they're gifted that spiritual knowledge. That's what I think it is. I think it's just a spiritual gift. It's not, accepting it isn't, the answer's obvious.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
As Nathan Oakley would say, it's obviously and observably flat motion.
Yep. I actually heard a globehead say objective reality the other day, and I jumped in on that. I go, don't you dare use objective reality. Don't you dare. That's our proof. Okay. There's only one objective reality, and it's not the one you're proving. But I never heard a globehead say objective reality as proof of that we're on what they say we're on. It was just, it really caught me off, and I was like, don't you dare use those two words in a sentence. So I felt like Rambo popping up in the rain, coming up out of the water. Like, dude, I will find you if you say objective reality one more time.
And there we go. That's what we are. What we need as a generation of Rambo 2 flat earthers, the ones that are going to go take the fight to them. I'm more of the first generation, sort of just walking through the woods, just leave me the fuck alone kind of flat earther.
Yeah. Business. Thank you. Yeah.
They drew first blood.
They do first blood.
Well, the meme of like the people up on the balcony and they're all proper and they're looking down at like the peasants.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's kind of like that, but we see the, you know what I mean? Like, like, yes, the seeds have sprung, and then, so it's good looking at these young kids going hard, but I think it's a losing battle. I don't think there's going to be ever some, unless we move into some utopian society and some massive disaster happens.
Right.
I love Mike LeBrash, host of THC, is just going hard on the chemtrails, man. And it's so, I don't want to use the word cute, but it's funny to see. It's great seeing them all gung-ho. Like, if I just present the right information, people are going to see the chemtrails in the sky. And then they're going to grab their pitchforks and they're going to storm the state capitals and demand clean, fresh air. And I just don't see anything happening. I mean, you can certainly shout it out and voice it. And there's going to be 0.1% of people are going to be like, dude, you're right. Oh my God, what the fuck are they spraying in the skies? And they're going to go on and they're going to research it. Like, why is it only there sometimes? What's up with that? And they're going to go on to look and they're like, oh my God, what the fuck are they putting in the fucking fuel? Shut up.
I mean, the government has released that information. Like they've openly talked about cloud seeding. And here's a little fun fact. New Hampshire, live free or die. In Texas, which is like big New Hampshire, okay, they actually passed a law making it illegal to use chemtrails in these states. You can look it up. They literally have law on it now. So they're pulling up whether they're going to stop in the sky or not. New Hampshire passed a bill making it illegal to have cloud seeding, weather modification, or anything done in the state. And it would just went under the radar. So if you tell somebody, no, they're doing cloud seeding. No, they're not. Like, they're literally laws against it now, like in states where the people have a voice, like states like New Hampshire. I mean, you're not going to see it in a Massachusetts, New York, California, society. But New Hampshire.
And you have to, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I'm just saying, New Hampshire and Texas, they literally have laws in the book against chemtrails now.
Yeah, oh yeah. And a lot of people say, oh, there's no such thing as, chemtrails. But yeah, if you search chemtrails, you're going to get, the loony pages. But if you search high altitude aerosol dispersion, then you get all the info and how they started in November of 1993 and yada, yada, yada. And they've been doing this over the United States for decades now, openly. They don't hide it. You just have to search the right words.
Yep. PFAS, also known as forever chemicals. Bill tracking New Hampshire. It's HB 1700, 2024 legislative session is when this happened. Title would be prohibiting the intentional release of polluting emissions, including cloud seeding, weather modification, excessive electromagnetic, I'm still reading the title here, excessive electromagnetic radio frequencies and microwave radiation, and making penalties for violation of such prohibition. Okay, now this is on their website right here. This is the government website right here in New Hampshire, our little state fighting back, but there it is right there, telling you about the chemtrails. And I think Texas was second in line to follow that. So HB 1700-FN, also known as the Clean Atmosphere Preservation Act. establishes regulations to prevent the intentional release of polluting emissions in New Hampshire, at New Hampshire's atmosphere and at ground level. The bill prohibits activities such as weather modifications, heating, excessive electromagnetic radio frequencies, and microwave radiation. It also prohibits stratospheric aerosol injections and other forms of geoengineering that involves the intentional release of polluting emissions. The bill requires state officials and the members of the public to report violations to the Department of Environmental Services and the county sheriffs, and provides penalties for violators. The bill also requires state climate-related blah, blah, blah. It goes on and on and on. But yeah, that's from the, what did I just pull up? Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
NH General Court, .state.nh.us. So this is on the government website. The cloud chemtrails are real. You know, so.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I hadn't heard that yet. Yeah, kind of start sharing that one around now. Yeah, because they make all kinds of things that aren't real illegal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know, right?
Why you can't keep a unicorn as a pet.
Well, you guys ever see the politician from New Hampshire that runs for president every 4 years as an independent? Vermin Supreme is his name. Mm-mm. He's famous. He wears a giant boot on his head. This guy puts a giant rubber boot on his head, and he gets like a giant percentage of the votes in New Hampshire every year. And like, this guy promises you like a free unicorn if he's elected and stuff. And,
yeah, look,
you know, that's stuff that you can get away with it up here. You know,
Vermin, Zack, VERMIN, Vermin.
It's either with an EN or an IN. It's called Vermin Supreme.
Yeah, check him out. You'll get it.
I'm gonna have to.
He'll crack you up.
Yeah, with his bumper stickers all over the state, Vermin Supreme for president and stuff, and you'll run into it. I've never met the guy or seen him or anything like that, but that's the stuff you get up here in New Hampshire. But we're too small to make a difference, and banning chemtrails isn't going to make the major news channels and stuff like, you know.
Vermin Supreme would be a member of the Flat Earth Society.
Facts.
It's funny.
He's getting my vote. 2024.
I hate to be that guy, but it is getting past my bedtime.
It is getting close. It's three and a quarter.
It flew by too. I didn't even realize it was this late.
Yep, it surely is. Well, thanks so much for coming to hang out, Brendon. It's always a good time.
Thank you for having me here, guys. I really appreciate coming on and seeing all you guys, and I, have you guys all in my prayers, and I hope nothing but the best for you. And
I got you, friend.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you. It's always an honor.
It's good to see your path, man. It's good to see the strength in you has gotten you this far, man. You're a powerful dude, and yeah, I'm going to share this with Michelle. Like I said, I think she mentioned you to me a few months back, or maybe even longer, and I didn't even know that was you, with the cross out there in the world. So yeah.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, awesome. Pretty sure she mentioned it way back. Yeah.
That's cool, man. Yeah. I will say the best thing that happened to me since that has happened is I had just got back to the city, and I was a day out of it. And I know we're heading towards the end, but I don't remember this woman's name. But she was driving by, didn't skid out, but jammed her brakes on in a city road, not the busiest city road, but a busy road, jams the brake on, opens her door, leaves her car in the middle of the road. I'm just standing by the Harmony home, runs, and she goes, "Are you the guy?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she just jumped into my arms, and she's like, "You saved my life." And I was like, "How?" I'm like, "Tell me, like, what's going on?" She's like, "I saw your story, and I decided to get help and stuff. And she was following me from like the beginning or whatever. And she goes, you know, that inspired me to put down the needle and put down, you know, alcohol and drugs. And she just, you know, ran into me randomly in the streets and just jumped into my arms. And that was like just a special moment, you know.
Dude, that made it all worth it right there.
Yeah, it was really cool, man. It was cool, you know. So
yeah, that's fucking beautiful. Ugh. It's just so awesome to have you back on. It's good hanging out. Don't be such a stranger, for fuck's sake.
I was just about to say, make it sooner this time, not so far between. And definitely, we appreciate you trying to hook us in to what you're trying to get done for the event, you know. So hopefully we can all see it together.
Yeah, weather permitting, guys. You guys will be always my first go-to, you know, as far as a YouTube channel that wants to go live with anything. And I may not be present with it, but you'll get the live footage and stuff. I'll be present, but I'll, you know, obviously be working a lot of things at the same time.
Right.
And you guys, the exclusive front row access to it, man. And we'll just, like I said, the closer we get to that 10-day forecast, which is about right now, we're going to know more every day to whether we're going to be able to go up and do it. So we'll keep you guys posted.
Please do. Give your wife and kids our love too. So happy to hear you guys.
Big hugs all around, friend.
Fucking just rocking it. I dig it.
Absolutely.
And thank you all for hanging in the
guys.
chat. Liz, I see you just starting to slowly slip. So we're going to get up out of here, let you all head to bed or go do your thing, whatever it is you're going to do to kick off this weekend. We'll see you back here next Friday. We've got Hoary Sheet coming in to hang out with us on Have No Sphere. Been a while since we got to speak to him. He's got some adventures to regale us with.
He's been on quite an adventure himself. Yep, definitely.
Make sure you guys hit that bell notification. Make sure you're subbed up to the main channel. Go ahead and give the Iron Realm Media podcast channel. It's the one with the red logo. Go ahead and give that one a sub too. Fucking hit the bell notification because you never know when we're going to get kicked off of this one. But we love you guys. Have a great rest of your night and a great rest of your weekend. Don't forget, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, Jesus Christ, this is how tired I am. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday is the Ironworks on freeworld.fm. Nothing, guys. Have a good weekend. Be good, be well. We love you. Do good, do it well.